quick thing.
Hey,
So,
True Believers England teen here. We're still working out our list because every time we're like, okay, we're done. Oh, wait, did you remember this show? Okay, we're done. Did you remember this one? So we're going to be here until the turn of the year. And we're going to talk about the best and the worst of TV shows. LK of all people had a hard time coming up with a worst list. I've got freaking
because I made a
worst.
I made a point this past year to try and not hate watch shows or just watch bad TV in general.
I'm just thinking
so
everything
honestly,
sucks unless, you know, I'll be with you. So it's like the automatic, the go-to is, well, that sucks. And then like maybe something kind of melts that cold heart of yours. And you go, you know what? I like that. Okay. Yeah. But we're going to be talking about the best TV shows. We're going to be talking about some of the worst TV shows. I do have I got 7 runner-ups on all of them. And actually, of my 34 TV shows I wrote down, really 24 of them in some way, shape, or form I kind of liked. At least I tolerated. But there are, I guess, numbers 24 through 34 for me were just garbage. And that does include the Continental. I was actually shocked. There are some shockers here where they ended up. So
I didn't include that one because I haven't finished it.
I did.
we'll talk about two. I mean, two conspicuous shows that'll be missing from my top 10 list this year are Reacher season 2 and Invincible season 2 because I have not finished them yet. And I actually just started watching Reacher today.
I have not finished season 1 yet.
Technically, nobody's finished either one of those seasons too because they're not complete.
Right, they're not done.
Yeah,
but you get it. If you've watched a few episodes, you can kind of get the feel for a season. Maranya said, wait, from what I understand, LK has a hard time finding anything good. He tends to hate. I know, right? I thought, okay, you know, well, life sucks. And then you have a cookie. That is basically LK's look on life.
If Eric's here, you know, it was funny. I was trying to think of like, okay, like middle of May on a Tuesday night, what was I watching? And it's like, God, probably it was probably I had sports on the TV on one side, and I was watching a YouTube video or something on my laptop or doing something else. You know, I will say though, at least for me, that you know the shows that I did find, you know, as my favorites, I looked at it as ones kind of like, if they're my favorites, they're ones that are off the top of my, you know, on the top of my head, the ones that I've been thinking about. And you know, overall, I mean, I like my top 10. Although, I mean, it's not great. There's
were you able to put together anything of a worst list?
I have a 5 worst list.
Okay, I'll tell you what. I don't think Jay did that either. You don't have a worst list, do you?
I've got 1 on there.
You got 1. Okay, so why don't I go down my top 10? When we hit 5, we'll start going back and forth. And then we'll go to the good stuff. We'll get to the good stuff, but we do have to talk about the bad ones. Now, I do, like I said, on each side, I managed to come up with 34 series that I saw. The worst of the worst, I've watched 1 episode, maybe 2, and said this, you know, and just walked. But and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that I actually. Or 6 that I actually somewhat liked, but if you got 34, you're cutting it in half. Some end up on the other side. So number 18 was Zom 100, the unboxing of the dead. I forget. It's like Bucket List of the Dead. It was an animated show that showed up on Netflix. Number 19.
Sorry, I was going to ask you: is that are you talking about the anime or are you
the
talking
anime?
About
the anime showed up on Netflix this year, and I enjoyed it. It's just it was it took me a while to finish.
Okay.
What if season 2? So far, I'm going to be doing a binge watch review of that. Let's see, Animal Control with Joel McHale on Hulu. I actually thought that was pretty good. What was that, Superman and Me cartoon? I watched like 3 or 4 episodes and then just
My Adventures with Superman.
That's it. I forgot to watch it. It was like, oh yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? There's a TV show with I used to be the dude who, oh my gosh, superhero, let's watch it, you know, and it's just like I could make a list. Maybe that'll be an interesting show list of TV shows and movies, or at least TV shows I haven't watched. Let's see. Number 22 is a Rob Lowe comedy on Netflix called Unstable. Find a Tone. Okay, there's some good stuff in there, but mostly there you go. Okay, now these are the ones that I absolutely did not like, period. And you're going to think this one's probably too high on a worst list, like it should actually be in the top 10, top 5. Mandalorian season 3. Now, you had to have watched this.
No. Well, let me take it back. I think maybe I watched episode 1.
Oh, come on. You watched the Lizzo episode. You know you did, just to see what it was about.
I watched reviews and recaps of it, but I was completely out basically after episode 1, I think, of season 3. Because I just, you know, I knew that Jon Favreau was no longer basically involved. He was name only on this. This was a Dave Filoni joint.
This felt so detached from anything that came before in Mandalorian. And the thing is, I mean, it was season 2 where we ended up with Luke Skywalker. It was a great emotional scene. Yeah. Where's this going to go? Of course, they fucked it up in the Boba Fett show. It ended up just so detached, so unemotional.
The Mandalorian no longer became the Mandalorian, number one. I mean, what we should have gotten was a bounty hunter show. Or more closer, if you watch Justified, think about Justified, put the Mandalorian in Raylan Givens' position, but he's not working for the government or anything. He's just basically doing jobs or something like that. That's what the Mandalorian should be. He's a goddamn bounty hunter, but the damn baby got so popular that Disney flipped their crap and said, "Oh, we've got to keep him in here. We've got to keep him in here." When he should have been, when Grogu should have been done and gone.
Yeah, when he was.
Well, what they should have done too, since they went ahead and made Mandalorian season 2.5 the end of Boba Fett season 1, I think they would have been better off having Boba Fett as a part of the regular cast of the Mandalorian. After he gets rid of Grogu, well, what's he going to do? Well, he's going to have to go, like you said, bounty hunting and stuff like that. Who else to go with?
By the way, let's not also mention, you bring up Justified. That we won't mention the fact that in season 1, Timothy Olyphant shows up to actually out charisma the Mandalorian. So
but again, that's what it should have been. Each season should have been a self-contained story of another job that the Mandalorian has to do, and then maybe then the B plot is the overall of him trying to find his way back to Mandalorian society or whatever the hell you want it to be. But it should have been that focus again, just kind of like Justified, where you had every season was some different problem that Raylan had to deal with, but then you had the B and C plots.
Well, didn't it become the Bo-Katan show too?
Yeah, it did. It kind of focused on her. I didn't mind that part of it, though. But Maranya is right. The Lizzo Jack Black thing wasn't as bad as everybody made out to be. It wasn't great, but it wasn't as bad. My number 11 worst is the Continental. It was the spinoff from John Wick, and it was what's his name, the older guy in the hotel. It was basically about the birth of the Continental and him taking over. Just once again find what is your TV show? What is it about? Is it going to be an action film? Or an action TV show? Is it going to be more serious, more of a drama because you don't have John Wick in it? But that didn't really hold with me too much. I wasn't a big fan.
Yeah, I'll say again, that's one that hadn't made either list, primarily because I haven't finished it yet. I watched the first 2 movies. They were okay, but you can see obviously that it didn't make a big enough impression. Like, ooh, I've got to watch next week.
Yeah, I was okay. Another one, by the way, that I watched a few episodes and I was like, this just ain't working, and I walked away from. God bless it. I love Sly Stallone. He did a TV show called Tulsa, and he and Arnold. Tulsa King, thank you. He and Arnold Schwarzenegger for their entire careers have been one-upping each other, and you know, it's a famous friendly feud. So Sly goes off and makes the awesome Tulsa King, and Arnold Schwarzenegger makes the lame Fubar. It just was not funny, and it wasn't all that fun either.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm going to disagree with you there. I had a good time with it. I'll say it didn't make my top 10. I had it as kind of like an honorable mention. It was dumb, goofy, fun. It was the type of TV show that we used to get 10 or 15 years ago. I thought the chemistry between Arnold and his daughter was pretty good. You know, did it completely stick the landing? I don't think so. And kind of one of the problems I had. But you know, it certainly was for me at least. It wouldn't have made a worse list.
Okay, that was my number 10. Number 9 is Gotham Knights. I made it through 4 episodes of this piece of but what did it for me? What I went, all right, I'm out. Was you had the Robin, this little girl. She stood. I could bring my niece in. She's about the same height, and she's 7. And this little itty bitty girl was going up against this owl guy and this huge freaking bouncer dude, and she's whipping their ass up. No. Okay. Whoop, I'm done. Screw you guys. I'm going home. This show was it was such a bad idea from the very beginning. Batman's dead. His son, not Damian Wayne, is going to be solving his mystery. And I'll tell you what, I argued it. I said, you know what? Give it its chance. 4 episodes. That's all I could take. I couldn't take any more, LK. All of a sudden, I started transforming into you, except for I would never wear a Minnesota shirt. Bucks are the team. All right. But it was God.
The Steelers here.
Steelers.
We won a big game against Seattle, and I
thought it looked purple to me here.
Yeah,
have you read The True Believer, The Rise and Fall of Stanley? I love the fact when you jump in and we're talking TV shows and you said, hey, you know what? Here's a topic. But we're talking TV shows.
Did Eric Breen hear that?
Yeah, yes, I have. Eric saying, I didn't realize how little non-sports TV I watched until I finished my top 2.5 show list for a year. And 2 of them are still going. Yeah. And Maranya's right. The Hawkeye doesn't deserve the hate. Neither does Ms. Marvel. Absolutely. Okay, my number 8 worst TV show of the year is one that everybody agrees with me on. The only thing they'd probably disagree is that it should be higher on the list. But I promise you, shows after this suck even more. And my number 8 is Secret Invasion. That you want to talk about a disjointed movie, or that this is it's disjointed. It seems to, it doesn't stand on its own, and it's not really connected to the rest of the universe. They thought of some really bad ideas. Making Emily Clark the freaking most powerful being in the universe was a horrible idea.
Well, that was just the cherry on the shit sundae of making her the most powerful person. And of course, it'll be interesting to see if they ever actually refer to her ever again. Yeah.
And I've seen better spy films with shorter times.
Mm-hmm.
And this was such an intriguing premise. You have an alien invasion who could look and act like anybody on the planet. They did not explore that at all. They did. I mean, okay, it was
surfaced at best with the because we got a few scenes where these scrolls are replacing these various important people in the world, and so they're controlling. And then of course all that was taken care of. I mean, the ending of that show, as bad as the whole show was, the ending was the absolute worst. I mean, because of the fact that you have the whole buildup between whoever the scroll is, and Fury, and he's blaming Nick Fury for everything, blah blah blah. We never get that final confrontation. I mean, that scroll's the one that, sorry, spoilers, that killed Maria Hill. Fury never gets his revenge. Instead,
excuse
it's
me just a
Amelia
moment.
Clark
Keep
as a
talking. I'll be right back.
you know, disguised as Fury. And then, of course, we get to see how overpowered, ridiculous nonsense that Amelia Clark's character is. And then, of course,
and the special effects were horrible, right?
Oh, well, the special effects were bad, but then you get the ending where, okay, the kind of like the threat has been dealt with, but then you have the president go on TV talking about how there's these aliens among us, and we're shutting everything down, and nobody's going to get in. So it was a really stupid, ham-fisted immigration allegory nonsense. And then you had openly the Skrull, I'll call them the Skrull kill crew, because that was kind of like what they were, you know, almost publicly gunning down these people that were Skrull.
At the end of it, they run right in front of the news cameras and blow away a senator.
When all of that should have been intrigue behind the scenes of a president, you know, pissed off at what was going on. Then you have, you know, the secret direct order. And so then you've got basically the spies going out and taking people out quietly. That's what would happen in the real world, or at least that was what would happen in a good spy show.
Yep. Okay, so my number 8, I don't think, or excuse me, number 7. I don't know if you guys know this. At the beginning of the year, Gino, what is his name? Carlo Esposito, whatever his name is.
Yeah, Giancarlo Esposito.
Giancarlo. Okay. I like him as an actor, so if he's in something, I'm gonna give it a try. It took me 4 months to finish this because I kept forgetting it was there. It's on Netflix. It's called Kaleidoscope. It's a heist show, and it was it was a slog. Like I watched an episode. Well, okay, let me see. It'll probably get better. I mean, come on, the man knows scripts, right? And it just never got any better. It was boring as. But it wasn't as boring as my number 6, where I watched 2 episodes and said, seriously, this is what you're doing with the show? And everybody else, I know some people praise it, but nobody in our team, I'll tell you what. It's a show on Disney Plus called Ahsoka. Oh, sorry. I put myself to sleep just by fucking naming it. I couldn't... I was so it's Rosario Dawson. I can watch her reading the freaking phone book. I seriously, and tell you, she don't look bad in the makeup. That's all I'm saying. But the show was so boring. It was so dull and lifeless, and every freaking. I'm just gonna whisper everything because it's dramatic. I did not like the first 2 episodes. I did not continue. It may have turned into a TV show that's the equivalent of the flavor of pumpkin pie. I have no clue because I can't make it to it's episode 3.
Oh, I can tell you, no, it turned into a flavor of some other pie, but it is truly an awful show. And if again, it's overkill to say that it's killed Star Wars, but I mean it has buried a lot of the interest in Star Wars going forward, especially because this is Dave Filoni's baby. This was all 100% Dave Filoni. And this is a guy that has been tapped now to lead the Star Wars universe going forward.
It had the hype behind it, yeah.
Awful. This was awful. And Ahsoka might as well not even been in the show. I mean, she was so just lifeless.
If it would have been Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, I would have watched it. But it was Dave Filoni and KK. Kathleen Kennedy
the star of the show was Sabine, who is not only the greatest Mandalorian, but she's also a Jedi. And at one point, it's comical where she's able to actually force lift somebody as they're jumping from like a.
I saw that as a clip.
She was like the 5th most popular character on Rebels, 5th or 6th. She wasn't even in the top 3 or 4 on that.
But that is,
and she was likable.
That is Dave Filoni's character.
Yeah.
Okay. We talk about self-inserts in comic books all the time.
Yeah.
Sabine is basically the Dave Filoni insert. That is his character. She's going to do no wrong.
All right. Starting the top 5. You said you have 5 worst.
Well, let me throw in this number 6 real quick.
Okay.
Because it might have been the worst TV show this year, although none of us have actually seen it. but it also provided me some of the best YouTube videos to watch of people that reviewed it. There was a show on Canadian TV this past year, in about 3 months ago or so, Robin Hood.
Oh yeah.
I heard about it. I never tried it because everybody was just going off on this thing.
It is, my God, it is so bad. You think of the worst CW show, and this is it times 10.
It's ROBYN, correct?
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Yeah, in terms of the production value, in terms of the characters. The morality was 100% skewed on this.
From what I understand, it was so racial. Like it was like, okay, the street signs are "I am black, y'all." It was just
yeah. I mean, so you would have to search the interwebs somewhere to find bootleg feeds of it. I will say, if you're interested in seeing it, go check out. There's a YouTube channel, a guy named Desperoo. He watched the episodes. He did reviews of it.
Now, what would your number 5?
Videos are amazing on it. So my number 5 is Loki season 2. It just I pushed myself through that show. Short round in there, it was nice, but so much of it felt so pointless. And also the farewell swan song of Jonathan Majors, who had one of the most aggravating and annoying characters I have seen in a year or two. Okay. The affectations he put on for Victor Timely were just nails on the chalkboard grating. And
I disagree with you on this one.
I will say, it wasn't Sylvie focused, but it was just an absolute slog to get through, and I couldn't care less.
I'll talk about it on the other end because I did not hate it. I did not hate this one. Yeah. My number 5 and 4 could probably go together because I'll just say the same things about it. But my number 5 was a TV show called How I Met Your Father. I love How I Met Your Mother. Love it. I've watched it over and over. It's a comfort TV show. Like if you want something on the background, you put something familiar on. How I Met Your Mother is one of the shows I go for. And How I Met Your Father decided, you know what we're going to do? You know how the original, it had all these good characters you could just get into? No, we're going to do shitty characters nobody wants to be around. Yeah, it did not work whatsoever. The kids used to watch Nickelodeon a lot, and they watched these movies, the Wendy and Casper, and they had the CDs, Hilary Duff. And so, okay, that's that kid. All right, let's see how she does. She has done nothing. She has done nothing worth anything all throughout. So here she is trying to ruin the legacy of a decent show. But that's my number 5 is How I Met Your Father. Unfunny as, and my number 4 is basically going to be the same thing. But what's your number 4 there? Okay.
My number 4 is the My Adventures with Superman. Like you had with a couple other ones, I watched 2 episodes of this when I saw it. So for everybody who knows, this was I think it was on Cartoon Network or something like that.
Cartoon Network. Yeah.
This was the animated quote unquote Superman show. That was really basically the Lois Lane show. Totally girl boss. It was the classic progressive character where just her behavior's awful, her motives are terrible, but somehow we're still supposed to root for her and say, yeah, you go, girl.
Yeah, she was not a good character.
Also had just a terrible Jimmy Olsen character that was almost minstrel-like. I'll just put it that way. And
when you say minstrel, are you talking like 1920s Bojangles style? Are you talking about he is literally on his period? Because both kind of go.
You watched a couple episodes of it, so I'll let you judge. But I mean, it seemed like he was mincing. He was type stuff. It was just bad. And then of course, I mean, the Superman was just the simp. There. And it's just bad. It's just bad.
All the fluorescent neutral color schemes they had going on, it was eyesore too.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty. It was not done well. And yes, this is one of the, he was a stereotype on both fronts. I don't know if they meant him to be gay, but they made him act that way. And I would not have been surprised had he not, oh my gosh, feet don't fail me now, and started running. It's just, he was not he was not a good stereotype for either of the two boxes that he was supposed to check.
Yeah.
My number 4 is another legacy TV show that just was not funny. And I liked the 70s show. I didn't love it, but occasionally it made me laugh. The 90s show that came out this year, no, it was like watching a Disney kids show, but they talk about doing pot and making out, because all of it, there's an acting style kids take where instead of emoting, they kind of talk louder. And they do that kind of bit. And that was all through that show. It was horrible. The only bright spots was when they would give time to the actors of the original show, of that 70s show. It blew. It's on Netflix if anyone wants to risk it. But
what about the new Night Court? Did anybody watch the new Night Court?
Not yet.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Now that you brought that back to my memory, that would definitely be on a worst list. You know, probably maybe just above Loki. I watched 2 episodes of that and just felt sad.
I haven't watched an episode. I was gonna watch Night Court, but when I put it in, I looked it up on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
The old Night Court came on. It was like Night Court.
Yeah,
I'm gonna rewatch some of the older stuff.
and the biggest problem with it, I mean, the casting was, whatever. But it was so try hard in terms of trying to make jokes, and they all just fell flat. And it was just bad.
All right. What is your number 4?
My number 4 was My Adventures with Superman.
Oh, okay.
My number 3,
and I mentioned mine. So your number 3.
So my number 3, you mentioned it before, Gotham Knights. Again, I think I made it through 2 or 3 episodes of this god-awful thing. It was, again, another classic CW thing of, well, they kill off Batman this time. So it's a Batman show without Batman.
All of them are.
All of the characters were absolutely terrible. It was, again, the same morality that you saw, in Batwoman. Thank God it's dying after 1 season. And
can we stop getting tough girls that weigh maybe 80 pounds? The Joker's daughter. Oh, I'll kill you all. No. Here, have a sandwich.
Yeah. Then
maybe we talk. Okay. The girl's wearing a midriff shirt, and you could see a triangle from a freaking pizza she ate the day before. I don't try. That show sucks.
So, I mean, the only good thing we got out of it were some good review videos.
My number 3 is another comedy that hurts the legacy of what came before it. It is a sequel comedy. Now, I can take you messing up. I can take you messing up How I Met Your Mother. I can take you trying to mess up the 70s show. But fucking leave History of the World alone. Mel Brooks is a fucking genius. You don't come up with a piece of shit show like the History of the World Part 2 and think that the entire thing should just be old pot jokes.
Wasn't that a movie?
By the way, no, it's a TV show.
Oh gosh.
It's on Hulu. Go watch it.
No.
No, don't.
That's the rudest thing I've ever said to you. I could literally, and I think I did say off to LK once or twice, but no, me telling LK to watch History of the World Part 2 is the most rude thing I've ever said. It is so god awful. It's like modern day Saturday Night Live decided to do period piece jokes. That's it. It's so god awful, really. No mention of Gunsmoke, The Rifleman. What are we talking about? I truly am a fossil. Okay. I gotcha. But those are good shows, by the way. That would be on the other side. What is your number 2, sir?
So my number 2 is Ahsoka. Just awful all the way around. As I say, I mean, just continue to drive Star Wars in the ground, especially as I mentioned, you know, this was 100% Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni is now the quote unquote architect of, you know, Star Wars going forward. And the worst thing of all, I mean, get beyond Sabine, get beyond, you know, the characters. The worst thing of all with the show is nothing happened.
Come out.
If you looked at it, honestly, it was written like it was a video game, because basically the whole series was nothing but fetch quests. Going to get this thing, then that'll allow you to go and get this thing, which will then allow you to get this thing. Thrawn was terrible. He looks like, you know, again, just Kang level bad guy in terms of just how badly they've done with him. But at the end, it's like, what really happened in these, what was it, 8 episodes, 6 episodes, whatever it was. I'm trying to blank it.
There were only 2.
Yeah.
You can't convince me.
You know, at the end, you're like, what actually happened in this season? And this is supposed to set up, you know, whatever stuff going forward. And it's like, who cares? It was just, it's such bad television.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrible. My number 2 worst show of 2023. And by the way, I'm doing all these shows that you guys have probably not seen, like How I Met Your Father and that 90s show, History of the World Part 2 on Hulu. Seriously, I really do kind of want somebody to check it out to understand how bad that show is. But there was a show so horrible that when I heard they're going to remove it, like, I don't even think it's on Amazon Prime anymore. It was an Amazon Prime show. I was like, oh no, you can't take Batgirl. We should watch it for ourselves to see if it's good. No, this one. Okay. Another one where they tried to ruin the legacy of something great. 1978. Young England teen is at a drive-in. My mother had taken the family again, and we go to see Vinnie Barbarino sing to Olivia Newton-John in Grease. And alongside there, you got your T-Birds and you got the Pink Ladies. So somebody thought it would be good to start a TV show called The Rise of the Pink Ladies. This was absolutely, this might actually be the worst TV show, but the one I've got as number 1 is not only bad, but it's also mean. But God damn it. To save your sanity, never look up. Imagine that I am just coming up with some mythical TV show called The Rise of the Pink Ladies because they removed it. It was one of those, we're going to save money. We're going to get rid of all these things so we don't have to pay royalties. And they removed it. I don't even think it's there anymore. But The Rise of the Pink Ladies was so god-awful. The characterizations, by the way, most of them are lesbians in the Rise of the Pink. Like, this is 1950s. Even if you were, you would be in hiding it. Okay, so all right. Actually, the one, never mind. I was going to go deeper into that, but that is my number 2.
Number 2 or number 1?
That is my number 2. I'm talking about it like it's number 1, but no, there's a number 1. What is your number 1 worst TV show?
Okay.
Of
I mean, clearly, number 1 is Secret Invasion.
Not clearly. I'm going to one up that.
I already had low expectations for it, and it exceeded those low expectations by just driving underground. It just, as far as I'm concerned, really killing the Nick Fury character, destroying any semblance of the MCU, just absolutely horrible in just so many ways. And also, I'm a huge spy thriller, espionage thriller fan, and they couldn't even do that part right. Wasting good actors. The swan song for Kobe Smulders, Maria Hill. I mean, was such just a colossal disappointment. I know some people have tried to defend, well, no, Nick Fury should act this way because he came back. He's clearly been affected by the snap. It's like, oh, bullshit. The Nick Fury would never have crumbled like this. It was just so ridiculous. And then, of course, everything was girl power in it, too. When you go, and especially you go back and look at the final episode, it's the girls doing all of the good stuff. And it's like, okay, this is what you want, go for it. Great. Because MCU, I'm out.
Alrighty. You know what I have to say is boring. It was disassociated, all that. I agree with you. It is one of the worst. I just figured I had, what was it, 7 more worse. And you said clearly it's Secret Invasion. Sir, you missed by a fucking mile. For as bad as Secret Invasion was, and once again, I'm talking about something that ruined the legacy, that set out to ruin the legacy of an awesome IP. And I've got 16 people watching now. I'm going to lose half with one image. Ladies and gentlemen, absolutely. LK was wrong. He often is. Sorry, dude, but yeah. But he was wrong. Clearly the worst TV show of 2023 and maybe of the entire century so far and to come is Velma. That is the worst freaking TV show of the year.
I won't 100% disagree with you on that, but again, it did make my list because I didn't watch one single solitary second of this. When I saw the trailer, when I saw it was Mindy Kaling, I knew it was bad and awful, and I was not going to give, again, whereas I said I really tried to make a point this year of not hate watching stuff. And I knew I'm not watching this.
All right. So here's the thing about this one. How to start? Okay. So first of all, and right away, first of all, this goes. Yeah, I'm finding it here. Okay. So Velma is absolutely the worst TV show of the year. It is mean-spirited. It had Fred is all sorts of vile things. Of course, he's a Republican in there. And I think at one point in time, they accuse him of child molestation as well. This is racist. It tries to hit multiple SJW wokeisms. I do believe Velma and Daphne share lesbian scenes. They race swap Shaggy. Everything, and it's just, and mostly it's just very mean spirit. My niece wants to be on that, so here she is. It is one of the most mean spirited things. I made it probably because we were talking about it. It was something to talk about. So the bird is acting as my guard dog. You do notice that, right?
I know that.
You put that finger up there, he's gonna snap you.
I won't.
Give it a try. Give it a try. Give it a try. Okay, there you go. He really is. He's acting, but abso-freaking-lutely. Velma, the worst. The worst. Stinky, says Jay. Where's my $2? Oh, I don't know what that. Oh, for defending you, I think.
Well, no, Eric and Boyd said, LK is never wrong. How dare you? And of course, he's right. So I said, thank you.
Not in this case. You weren't. It wasn't clearly the worst, but I get it if you hadn't watched all of it. But this was a show that everybody was talking about, so I kept up. And after a while, it was like, you know what? I can't do it anymore. I cannot do it anymore. It is. I do not recommend this to anybody other than if you're making a video series about it, because that's going to get you clicks. They actually greenlit. This is where you got to wonder, HBO, you must be doing this because, only haters, only people who don't like people who aren't white hate the show, because everybody who watched it thought it sucked. I can understand a little bit because holy crap, we're going to greenlight another season because people are watching this. But literally everybody was hate watching. This could be the most popular show because everybody who watched it, or a lot of people watched it, but they were only watching it to hate watch. So there you go. That's the number one worst TV show of 2023, actually of the 2020s for me. And probably, like I said, I could take that to the very beginning of the century. So just to recap, number 10 was Fubar with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Number 9 was Gotham Knights. 8 was Secret Invasion. 7 was Kaleidoscope. 6 was Ahsoka. 5 was How I Met Your Father. 4 was That 90s Show. 3 was The History of the World Part 2. 2 was The Rise of the Pink Ladies. And number 1, absolute worst, was Velma. If you want to recap, then we'll move on to the best we'll talk about the good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, sure. 5 was Loki, 4 was My Adventures with Superman, 3 was Gotham Knights, 2 Ahsoka, 1 Secret Invasion.
Okay, now you have a top 10. Do you have, before we go into the top 10, let me, the way we have Lily Singe, show must be concealed, if not the list. I didn't count reality and talk shows.
Yeah.
There's a baking show that I like called Crime Scene Kitchen with Joel McHale. I think I included it on my last year's list, but I was like, nah, this year, no cooking shows, no. Dances with the Stars is something I watch, but yeah, not this.
Yeah. So yeah, I do have a few honorable mentions for best of. As I said earlier, if it's a series that I'm not caught up to date on, or haven't watched all of, I kind of kept it off there. So you're not going to see Reacher season 2 here. You're not going to see Invincible season 2. I will say I've watched the first 2 episodes of Reacher season 2. I liked it, but it hasn't reached the highs of season 1 yet. So I'm
also
hoping that it's better.
Maranya What If was in my runner-ups for the worst because I only saw that first episode and I decided I'm going to do a binge watch video where I watch an episode, then review it, watch an episode, then review it. And so I'm going to go through the entire, or at least whatever's there, the entire series.
Can I throw in an honorable mention for bad?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Strange New Worlds. I tried. I thought the cast was, I was really excited, and it's just another horrible modern Star Trek show. Absolutely.
Again, I knew from the start it's Kurtzman's Star Trek, and to stay the heck away.
They did a musical episode. It's like, that's all it needs to be said.
Okay. Wait, What If didn't make the cut? Who are you? That's why. Hello to Elk of Antioch. I haven't been keeping up with you and England team the past few months. We'll try to catch more discussions. I hope so. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Dragon, good to see you. Yeah, so my honorable mentions on the best of list here.
Let's get to that. I've got 7 the same way as last time.
I got 5 that made my honorable mention list. First off was The Consultant, which I had almost forgot about until I started looking for a list. And I was like, oh my God, that's right. Yeah, I did watch that. It was an Amazon Prime show. Christoph Waltz is fantastic in it, but the show, it had great promise to start out. So for those unaware, Christoph Waltz is this character. He comes into this tech company on Monday morning and announces to everybody, all the staff, I forget what the character's name is, but I'm the consultant. I'm here to, basically run the company. And they're like, well, what happened to the owner? And it's like, well, the owner, left, and turns out he basically committed suicide. And so it has this kind of creepy otherworld vibe of, okay, something, supernatural, something weird is going on. You start to get the feels like, okay, well, is this guy kind of like the devil or something? You don't really know. You have this kind of secretary character that kind of becomes the audience character to lead you through. And it wasn't bad, but from what well, first off, the fact that it took me this long to remember it kind of tells you that, it didn't, the ending certainly, at least for me, didn't kind of stick the landing. I thought it could have honestly, to me, it should have gotten darker, but it tried to have a little bit of like a happy or, lighter ending, and it just didn't work for me. So that's in my honorable mention. A recent show on Netflix that just premiered, I think actually this month, was Obliterated. So I'll tell you this: if you watched FUBAR and you liked FUBAR, I think you'll like Obliterated. If you didn't like FUBAR, you probably won't like Obliterated. If you saw the trailers for this is the show where it's a government task force, and they were tasked to try and find this suitcase nuke and stop it. And so they think they did, and they're in Las Vegas, and it's like, well, hey, everybody's got to report back on Monday, so let's have this raging 48-hour thing and empty out our expense account. So they throw this huge party, they all get trashed, and then it turns out that the bomb that they got was actually a dud, and the real one's still out there. And so in their trashed, inebriated states, they have to try and and find this bomb. And so there's some good moments in it. Some of the characters are interesting. There's really no names in it except C. Thomas Howell, if you remember him back in the day. He plays this whacked out bomb tech. So it wasn't bad. Again, it was one of those, didn't quite stick the landing for me, but I enjoyed watching it. Again, mentioned for me at least, Fubar makes my honorable mention. I thought it was good, goofy fun.
Okay.
One other Netflix show, sadly, it's got canceled, so we're only getting one season, but was Lockwood & Co. This was a British show set in this kind of alternate world where ghosts and supernatural stuff is acknowledged and occurring, and so kids get trained to deal with it because it turns out they're the ones that can, or teenagers can control the magic or whatever you want to call it. And it was just a really good show. There weren't any Mary Sues in it. Everybody had issues. People screwed up. But it was a really good, intriguing show. I guess it's based on a series of novels, and I'm sad that it's not getting a season 2. And lastly, as we'll start, you'll find out I am the resident weeb on the channel here. I have to mention MF Ghost. So this is an anime show that came out this past fall, winter, and just wrapped up its first season here. And it's the sequel to an anime that I loved from 10 to 15 years ago called Initial D, that I didn't know existed and didn't think I needed and absolutely loved. It's all about street racing, kind of in this slightly near future in Japan. And the racing scenes in it are absolutely fantastic. And again, it was one of those shows where I couldn't wait for next week to find it, to be able to watch it again. So those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, there are some shows this year that I thought I would get around to and didn't, or I saw them and was like, oh yeah, or I didn't know they existed. And I am very disappointed I didn't see the Muppets Mayhem, which is Dr. Teeth and the Mayhem. It was basically they followed them. I wish I did. Unfortunately did not. I've never seen an episode of Succession. I don't feel like I've lost out on anything. I hear it's good. Maybe I'll get to it sometime. What else of the good ones? If it comes up. But yeah, obviously, if it's not on the list, that's the reason why. My runners up is Monarch Legacy. It's on Apple TV, and it's about the kind of the creation and rise of the company. It's not necessarily a kaiju show, but occasionally something shows up. My number 16 is a British show called The Rig. It's on Prime Video, and it's about this oil rig crew who gets stuck on their rig as a mysterious fog. It's almost like The Mist, because this fog goes over them, and then it's just a case of survival. It becomes a horror film or horror TV show. The Walking Dead had 2 shows out this year. I didn't hate either one of them. One I liked, but I did not like well enough to be in the top 10. That was Dead City. This is Negan and Maggie going through. They're trying to save Maggie's kid from a guy who used to work for Negan and kind of, went nuts. There was really one great scene where we got to see classic Negan, where they're being invaded by, there's a building that Negan and Maggie and their crew were taking refuge in, and they're assaulted by a bigger force. So Negan captures one of their guys as they're on a lower level, and he brings this guy around, shoves his head through the windows going, knock, knock. And then he does it again, knock, knock. And he gets everybody's attention, and he just says, 1 second, he slices the guy's throat and shakes it so blood starts spurting out all over everybody. And he throws it. Okay, that's one scene. Everything else, meh. My number 14 was on LK's worst list, so take this with a grain of salt. It's Loki season 2. I like this one. It was Loki focused, as LK did admit. I get it, because this is, I think, a more character driven than plot driven. And I also understand that Jonathan Majors is using a weird affection. What would you say?
Affectation
To his voice. I didn't mind it. I liked it. I liked what they did with the timelines. And this, by the way, what I really liked was they can literally stop all this multiple timeline crap. They finished it. They don't have to have Loki in another show. It's done. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the season 2. My number 13 was Gen V. This is a side show to The Boys. The first 2 episodes, I was like, okay, this is going to be crap. I'll give it one more. And then that 3rd episode actually caught me, and it went through. I thought it was a really good companion to The Boys. And number 12 is one of the most popular TV shows this year, especially among geeks. But I don't have an attachment to the game. I did like the show. It's called Last of Us, zombie show. Let me take this kid somewhere. You know, I'm going to commit the Mann Act and take her across a few state borders. I enjoyed it. It was fine. It had some good scares and such. And my number 11 was actually recommended to me by LK. And I'll tell you what, for once, he was not wrong. This is a good show. It's called School Spirit, where this girl dies and she has to solve her own murder. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that a little bit more. So I'll wait for that. And there we go. Those are my runner-ups. And you said you have 5, right, Jay?
I'm up to 8.
Oh, okay. So join us when we get to 8. LK, what's your top 10?
Okay.
What's your number 10?
So my number 10. Let me do a quick share here, and I promise it won't get the channel. It won't get the channel struck.
You use seconds of this thing.
Yeah, I'll use seconds. So my number 10 of the year. Again, as I say, this is going to be a heavy weeb list, and this is what 2023 was for me. But this was a season 3.
And we stop.
Horse Girls. So the premise, of course, as you saw, I mean, it's basically a future or a different world where, you have the horse girls, running around, and and so when I first watched this in season 1, and this was like 2017 was when season 1 came out. It was like, okay, this looks dumb and goofy, whatever, But then it started showing this heart, and it really turned into a kind of a sports anime. And then the last 2 seasons have been absolutely fantastic. This 3rd season kind of carried on from season 2. It had carryover characters. But basically the season 3, you're focused on 2 characters who you saw as kids who were watching and idolizing the runners in season 2. Now they have aged up, and they're going to the academy to become great racers themselves. And you get to see, I mean, it's full of ups and downs of they get hurt and then have to rehab and come back. They win, they lose. It's just a fantastic drama set around horse girls. And I'm sorry, I like it. I think it's a fantastic show. It's so much better than it should be. But it's a very, very worthy and fun show. And honestly, I would recommend it to like anybody like 10 and up for it. I think this is like a perfect young, as I say, like 9-10 years old show, because it doesn't pander to them. It's just a great show. It's so much fun to watch.
All righty. My number 10 is at number 10 because I haven't finished it, but it is so far freaking awesome. That is Invincible season 2. It continues almost right off where the other one ended. We have goodness gracious, I can't even think of it. We have Invincible here, where he is kind of experiencing some trauma, and he ends up getting involved with the government because he wants to make up for the destruction that they caused in the battles in season 1. I also like the fact that they showed multiple universes where he decided, you know what? Okay, I'm going to join my dad. So it's a good show. Recommended. It's on Amazon Prime right now. It is not finished though, and that's why it's only at my number 10. Good show though. What's your number 9?
So my number 9, let me do another quick share here. We'll watch a few seconds.
Oh, is it more anime?
Nope.
Okay, you're about, yeah, I don't want you getting me shut down.
No, it's not anime.
Okay.
So my number 9 is Mrs. Davis.
All right.
So just get a little bit of an idea here.
Hey, turn off the sound. We can talk over it. That's that.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, go on ahead.
Yeah. So it's a wild show. It is Damon Lindelof, but when I saw it, it reminded me a lot of a Brian Fuller show. It reminded me because especially the first few episodes, and you can kind of see the color palette here. It's got a very almost like I call it hyper realistic look to it. And so the show itself, I mean, it's a little hard to describe. But basically you've got the lead character here, Sister Simone. She's in a nunnery. She winds up getting this assignment because in this future there's an AI called Mrs. Davis that basically has set the world afire.
Be safe, Dr. Silverage.
This helpful, amazing app that whose whole goal is to make everybody happy. And so it's completely changed society, and everybody is linked into this except for Sister Simone. And she gets tracked down, and she's given this task of, hey, find me the Holy Grail and I'll shut myself down. And so this starts this incredible journey. She winds up getting together with her ex-boyfriend, who's part of a resistance, trying to resist this Mrs. Davis. And it's this globe-spanning, insane journey that takes so many twists and turns. I just had such a great time with the first, 6 episodes. But honestly, it's one of my themes. This show, at least for me, kind of didn't stick the landing. I think it got too out there and didn't know how to pull itself back together. But there's some just fantastic acting in it. As I say, I mean, the first 2 or 3 episodes are great. So that's my number 9.
Okay.
Actually, I have a number 9. I have a 9 real quick.
Oh, you have a 9. All right.
Yeah. The new Frasier. It's perfectly mid, but Kelsey Grammer it's still enjoyable enough to sit through. I know.
All right.
So that's it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I saw people mentioning it. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. So you figured, what the hell? Let's mention it here. I haven't seen an episode, but then again, I've never seen any of the original Frasier show.
Really?
Never.
Did you watch Cheers?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Love Cheers. I watched that. I binged that.
You should go deep dive into the original Frasier sometime. It's really good stuff.
I may just. I was looking for a new comfort TV show.
That'll do it.
By the way, have a good night, Dr. Silverage. Happy New Year. Be safe. Take care.
Happy New Year.
Later, Doc.
All right. I guess I will. I could do the same. We got to make sure anything we're sharing though is no sound. And my number 9 is another Walking Dead show, but this one was pretty damn good. It is Daryl Dixon. So Daryl Dixon finds himself in Paris, and he gets to, basically it's a kind of a cult that believe there's this kid who's the second coming. He's never been he's been immune. He's smart. He seems to have an insight and so forth and so on. And it kind of becomes a little bit Last of Us, where Daryl promises to ship this kid off to wherever they need to go in order for him to become the Messiah that everybody believes that he will become someday. I enjoyed it. It had some good fight scenes, had a lot of story and character, which is really important, of course. It's important that you care what happens, but it's more important that you cared who is that happening to. And it just picks it up, man. I did think that The Walking Dead picked up Like it did have a dip and it kind of picked up. This continues it. I think the Dead City is the surface level stuff that you may have liked from Walking Dead, but this is the good character stuff. So
cool.
There you go. And what is your number 8? Okay.
All right, my number 8 here. I'm just sharing still photos here, so you won't have to worry too much. Where's my where is it?
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, come on. Why isn't in my list of Brave tab? That's why it does. Because it's not in Brave. Okay. There you go. So number 8.
All right.
Can you post it?
Oops. Here it is. Yep.
So my number 8 was Justified City Primeval. I know some people were disappointed in the show. I would rank it. I love Justified when it was out. Raylan Givens is one of the best television characters of the last 30 years. And getting to see Timothy Oliphant play Raylan again was a treat, and he hadn't missed a beat. The story wasn't as strong as it wanted to be. I wish that Art had come back into the show, but there was enough good stuff in here, and the story was compelling enough. The villain was a little too over the top. But overall, it was worth a watch. And of course, if you watch the last 5-10 minutes of the finale, then you're hoping and can't wait for the season 2.
All right. This is another show. Never saw an episode. I've never watched anything of Justified, which is something because I'm Timothy Oliphant's in it. Usually I watch it. This is just one I never picked up on. What is your number 8, Jay?
The Boys. I really enjoyed this past season. It would have been higher on my list if I didn't have to speed up through the political cringy parts. But the thing that really stood out for me for the season was the relationship between Homeboy and his son. I know he's a psychotic murderer and his son's borderline psychotic, but the bond to me was really touching. You could tell he actually cared about the kid, and he didn't care about anybody. So I thought it was really well done.
I forgot that came out. Otherwise, that would be somewhere, at the very least, in the runner-ups. But that is something. Okay, my number 8. I guess I like doing the sharing thing, so here we go. LK had it at number 9. I got to tell you, though, Mrs. Davis got better as it went. The stuff that you didn't like, because it was it really did go bonkers, I enjoyed. I had a great time with. What you're seeing here is oftentimes she would meet up with somebody, this algorithm called Mrs. Davis, and when she wanted to talk to him, she'd go, "Are you connected?" "Yes, let me talk to her." And they would end up giving her connection to this algorithm that she is really trying to beat. It does go crazy because you find out that this nun is married to Jesus and married to God, which of course all nuns are supposed to be, but she's literally married to Jesus. And I love these parts where she's going into this cafe to talk to him. That was Jesus right there that she was talking to, as a matter of fact. It is thoroughly entertaining, absolutely intriguing, and it kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat. I really did like Mrs. Davis. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I won't disagree with you there. I mean, that was, again, it was one of those shows, and this was kind of a theme of at least my top 10 that I have here was shows that I was looking forward to each week.
Yeah.
You know, I finished an episode, was like, okay, I can't, you know, I'm looking forward to next week to seeing the next episode. But yeah, just, I know maybe I have to go back and watch it if I ever get the time. The last two episodes just didn't quite gel for me. It just,
I can understand because you're right. It does go off. Not to right. It goes off to left field. It really does.
Yeah, I think that's it, where it went just too far out of bounds. But again, I mean, I'll tell people, don't look at it as a Damon Lindelof show. If you liked Pushing Daisies, if you like some of the Brian Fuller stuff, check it out.
Yeah, it is pretty good. All righty. LK, what do you have? Number 7.
Okay, well, number 7 here. Let me I'll show you another picture here. So number 7, it was a season 2. It's the one documentary show that's on my list. And as I was going through, it was kind of like, yeah, what did I actually watch a lot of? And it went, you know what? I watched this entire season, and I really enjoyed the heck out of it. I'm a huge football soccer fan. Yeah, so Welcome to Wrexham has been this 2-season documentary show documenting this football club in Wales, in Wrexham, Wales. And it's a football club that, as you can see there, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who's from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, they went together and bought this football club. And so the first season, and this is a team that's in kind of the lower levels of English professional football. And so you watch the travails, and I give Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney a ton of credit, because this isn't just some kind of weird vanity project. I mean, they have really kind of put their hearts and souls into this club, because the club is more than just a sports team. It's really part of the identity and the fabric of this, this city in Wales that was basically a coal town, and is just kind of struggled to get going. He's always been emblematic of the way the club was. And so the first season, when they bought the team, they started out slowly. They put money into it. They got some players. And it was, again, kind of like that classic Hollywood script of they got really close to the goal, and then they lost.
Right.
They lost in the playoffs and didn't get promotion. So this coming season now, in the season 2 documentary here, basically everything was kind of like, hey, we've got to get promoted. We've got to get up to the next level, or else we're in big trouble, because we put so much money in the club. And they had an amazing, amazing season. I kind of knew that, because the show didn't come out till August. And so, but still, just seeing the personalities, it's a fantastically done documentary.
All righty.
Focus all just on football either. It focuses on things that are going on in the city, and some of the other issues and stuff. And you really get to know kind of like some of the characters and the townspeople and the players. It's just really well done.
Okay, how about you, Jay? What's your number 7?
I'll go with Superman and Lois. Very solid Superman show. Very entertaining. I know a lot of people say it's great. I don't think it's great, but I think it is very, very good.
All righty. Cool. This was a good 3rd season. I would say more, but I'll talk about it later.
Gotcha.
All righty. How about you? Wait, okay, you just did your number 7, so it's me this time. All right. I like the idea we're sharing these trailers and such. I got to tell you, my number 7 is a show that I actually just started. It came out at the beginning of the year, but I finally got around to it. I'm on episode 3, and to tell you the truth, I am so intrigued. The only reason why I'm on episode 3 is because I'm waiting for my wife to get here. But this is a show called Poker Face, and it's got Natasha Lyonne. She plays this. She plays this woman who has the ability to just know when people are lying, and she gets in trouble with some mob bosses in Vegas, and she's chased across country where she ends up solving mystery after mystery. And so far, it is the closest thing to Columbo. Somebody said that. Oh, it's a show. It's like Columbo. Like, how is it? No, you can't compare it to something like that. But I get it. It's very much like Columbo.
Well, they go for that aesthetic, and if you see here, kind of like in the credits or the overlays, it has a very much of a 70s NBC mystery movie vibe.
It really does. The color palette, everything, it looks like a 1970s TV show. It feels like a 1970s TV show. And I got to tell you, Natasha Lyonne, she's kind of had a career push thanks to the stuff she did on HBO. I'm actually surprised they didn't put this on at least the first few episodes on Netflix, so they could get a push to get more eyes on this thing, because this show absolutely deserves those eyes. It is really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised NBC at this point hasn't done something the way that CBS has put Yellowstone on, that Disney or ABC put Ms. Marvel on, and some stuff like that. It absolutely fits. We might be talking about it a little bit later.
Right. Number 8, Poker Face. Peacock needs to promote better. By the way, Peacock is one of my favorite streaming services. It does have ads before and after, but it costs like $5 or $6, and it's got Universal stuff all over. It's got the Back to the Future. It's got the Jurassic Parks. It's got the oh goodness, what I was trying to Office and such like that. It is a great freaking service for the price. Yep. I'm not paid to promote. I wish I was, but yeah, there you go. All right, let's move on to number 6.
Number 6. All right, let me put up a one here. It was your number 11, and that is School Spirits.
Okay, now we can really talk about this. I didn't want to talk too much because
so Peyton List. This was one I just happened to stumble across. I was a huge Veronica Mars fan back in the day, and this sounded kind of like that. And I was like, okay, let me check this out. You know, it's got a supernatural angle to it. Let's check it out. So yeah, it starts out, you know, with the character here that you see, and I'm blanking on her name. Let me see if I've got it. Oh yeah, Maddie. So she wakes up in the high school, and she's like, what am I doing here? Nobody can hear her. Nobody can see her. And it turns out, you know, she thinks she's dead.
But
the only people that she can communicate with are other spirits of people who died at the school that has still been there. And so it's, you know, kind of like almost one of those the worst nightmares of, you know, you're trapped for eternity at your high school. But she thinks that, you know, her way of, you know, getting out is finding her body and solving her murder. And yeah, go ahead.
I was about to say something I noticed you're not doing, so I'm going to do it. School Spirits was a Amazon Prime show, but now it is on Netflix. So if you do have Netflix, give this a try. It was my number 11.
Actually, it was a Paramount Plus show.
Paramount Plus. Okay, there
Paramount
you go.
Plus, it went to Netflix.
I've got all of those MGM Paramount stuff through my Amazon, so that's why I said it was Amazon. Yeah.
And
but now it's on Netflix.
There's supposed to be a season 2. So it might come out like late 2024 with the strike and everything.
By the way, this is not a case of an unsolved mystery that goes through 1 and 2. You watch season 1, it tells its story, and then it sets up a season 2.
Yeah, and there's a I don't want to give anything away. The last episode leaves you going, oh my god, wow. But yeah, I mean, here's a little synopsis. You know, so Maddie's a 16-year-old girl, newly deceased, finds herself trapped in an afterlife limbo at her high school, where she discovers that she's stuck with those who have also died in the school in the past 100 years. For some reason, she's the only one who can still communicate with the living, so she uses her newfound abilities to help investigate her own murder. So where the part with the living is that she's able to kind of communicate. So the one friend there you see on the left was her best friend. And he can kind of see and hear her at times. She uses him to, you know, like try and do stuff outside of the school. But there's also just a really good undercurrent of these other people, these other, you know, basically kids that have, you know, been in the school for, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And, you know, how they've tried to deal with it, what their experiences were, and, you know, is it possible to move on? You know, it's just a really good show. Really well done mystery part. So as I say, if you liked Veronica Mars, this is definitely a show worth checking out.
All righty. What about you there, Jay? What's your number 6?
I made a boo-boo. I had Cobra Kai in at number 6, but that was from last year. I got it crossed over, so skip me.
Skip?
Yeah.
All righty. It's an apocalyptic world. Everybody is afraid of outside. So the entire population of what seems to be a large city is now living inside of a silo. So my number 6 is a TV show on Apple TV, and it is called Silo, and that's the premise where it's just this community, this society that is stuck here, and of course political intrigue. They've got a window that when somebody commits a crime that's great enough, they're sent to the outside, and they're always asked, are you going to escape, or will you actually take your time to clean the windows or cameras, and so everybody could see outside? And how bad it is outside, as you see right here, keeps everybody kind of quiet in the silo. So it's like, is it really that bad out there? And that's part of the mystery that's coming undone as the lady here, she's got a name, she's in Mission Impossible movies, is she's trying to figure out, because it just seems like the government is trying to hide something, and she wants to find out what's real and what's a lie. And it is so intriguing. It really is. I'm not going to give anything away, not too much anyway, beyond what the trailer's showing you. I was caught. This one show, I got to admit, and let this put a little balance to it. Gail watched 3 episodes of this, and then I think she forgot about it. She walked away. You know, she didn't watch it, but I've watched this to the end and loved every freaking moment of it. Really cool show. It's Silo, and it's on, like I said, it's on Apple Plus TV or whatever it's called.
There's a
so
few
there you go.
shows on Apple TV now that I got to sign up for that.
Yeah, one of my runner-ups was Monarch Legacy.
That's
on Apple
the
TV.
one I really want to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there you go.
I've got enough streaming sites. It's like I really don't need to add Apple Plus. I've got enough.
Every time that, like, I've got 4 or 5 through Amazon Prime, but they keep putting them on sale. So I was like, would you like this for $2.99 a month? And I'm thinking, yeah, I'll just not get a candy bar or soda or something like that. Sure. So as a matter of fact, I stopped. I cut Cinemax because no, it was Stars. They said, yeah, it's too expensive. So I cut it, and they go, wait, we'll give it to you for $2.99 for the next 3 months. All right, well, then I'll quit it in 3 months. There you go. Sounds good to me. But yeah, I've got a few of them. So, LK, yeah, you had time to get the picture up, right?
Yeah, I've got my picture right here.
Okay, so what is your number 6?
This becomes the resident weeb portion of my top 10 list.
All righty.
So this picture here is from my number 5, and that is season 2 of Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation. So this is probably my favorite, might be the best isekai show. And so for those of you who aren't fluent in weeb like I am, the isekai genre of manga and anime is where, you know, somebody basically falls in front of a truck or otherwise dies, goes to the afterlife and gets the opportunity to get reincarnated or go to a fantasy world to live out new experience. So in this case, you had this 34-year-old shut-in guy who was bullied and oppressed all his life. He's outside. For the first time, he sees a little kid in the middle of the road, and for the first time in his life, he does something heroic. He dives in front to save the kid, and of course gets hit by the truck and dies, and then goes to the afterlife and gets an opportunity to get reincarnated. And he gets reincarnated into this fantasy world and named Rudius, and he's born again as a kid, but he has all his memories of being an adult. So in the first season, you had this wonderful dichotomy of the little kid who's as smart as an adult, going around and doing things. And of course, he's also inherited some magical ability. But what turns it on its head is at the end of the first season, you have this cataclysmic event that basically teleports him and the girl in red there, who's kind of like a friend / rival, on to the other side of the world. And so then season 2 is all about them trying to make their way back and their journey and what have you. And at the end of season 2, it becomes really heartbroken because basically they wind up kind of falling for each other. They experience a moment, and then he wakes up the next morning and she's gone.
Okay.
She basically leaves on a note saying she needs to go do this thing, and see ya. We'll meet again, kind of thing. And so he's heartbroken. That's basically kind of where we start to pick up with season 3, and it's just a fantastic show. Where he's journeying through this world. He basically kind of becomes like this adventure hunter because he has great magical abilities that a lot of other people don't. And season 3 is basically he meets another group of adventurers and helps them out. And then winds up getting invited and going to a magic school and dealing with that part. and at the end of that past season, he actually reunites with somebody else from his old from the previous world where he reincarnated from. And it's a wonderful, touching moment, because basically with this teleportation, explosion or whatever, people from his country got just sent all over the place.
Okay.
All been about trying to pull people together. It's just a fantastic show. The characters are just really well done.
All righty.
And like I said, again, this was a show where, when the episode ended, I was ready to watch the next one and couldn't wait for the next week.
You ever have a show that's so good you don't sleep?
Yeah.
Like you literally just start it and realize, oh shit, it's time to go to work, or it's like daylight out.
Mm-hmm.
I actually did that with a movie recently, not with a TV show recently, but with a movie, Killer of the Flower Moon or something like that. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
We are on number 5 still. Jay, what do you have?
Yellowstone. I went and did a deep dive of the whole series up to this point, and I mean it lived up to the hype. You can't go wrong with Kevin Costner. It is such a well done show. Can't recommend it enough.
Oh, okay. Wow. That was like the anti-LK right there. All righty, kids. Look, it's not just the shows that started, but occasionally you got to talk about a season that's just so freaking good. That's legal too. And for me this year, I got to say Superman and Lois literally reached new heights. It was just incredible. We got to meet Lex Luthor this year. We got to deal with Intergang. It was incredible. They did actually have a show or two that dealt with the Bizarro world from last season, but this is thoroughly entertaining, and I think it really grabs you because it also deals with Lois Lane. They gave Lois Lane cancer, by the way, and it deals with that in a serious way. It's not a one episode, hey, we found the cure here, but we're not giving it to the world because it got broken or something. It went all the way through. She absolutely had it. She had the breasts removed, the whole 9 yards. Obviously, it was trying to get a message out. This is something you might have to go through and blah, blah, blah. But it was done in a way that was respectful. And that was just the story part. The action was incredible too. And Lex Luthor comes along and he says, what ended up happening, I'm going to spoil this one bit. Lex Luthor was in jail and he was falsely accused by Lois Lane. So Lex Luthor absolutely has a reason to go after Superman and Lois in this. And that is how the show ended. It's amazing. I'm not going to spoil. You probably could see spoilers somewhere around, but dude, I cannot wait for season 4. This show is freaking awesome. Absolutely. God dang, I hope Stargirl wasn't this year. I hope it was last year.
I looked. Stargirl was last year.
Because that just made me think that last season of Stargirl was fucking awesome too.
Yeah,
man.
So it was very good.
But it's great being able to see these shows and just have something to go on. Let me get some of these comments we've been ignoring. Cartoon has said his number 9 was Justified. Number 8 was Poker Face. Peacock needs to promote better. I never heard of Poker Face other than the Lady Gaga song. That's so sad, man. Cartoon says his number 7 was Phasma, the King of Sentais. I assume it's an anime of some sorts. And let's see. And talking about School Spirit, MK says that sounds like this anime I saw years ago. This kid who could see a dead girl at a school, but I can't remember the name. I think it was The Other Side or something like that.
No.
And Cartoons and Comics says his Fire TV makes it worth it because he has HBO Max for 1 year for $48. And then Superman and Lois is the best version of Superman since Christopher Reeve. Yes, I agree. I absolutely 100% agree. I like Henry Cavill. Say again?
In live action, yeah.
In live action, okay, yeah, because we do have the Bruce Timm and Paul Dini.
Bingo,
stuff.
yeah.
Yep. All righty, LK, are you ready for number 4?
I am.
Okay,
So,
you want to make an announcement before I show the picture?
No, it can put up the picture. So again,
All
my
right, here we
number
go.
4 can continue my anime journey here. This is a show called Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts. And it's an amazing show. I'll just read this real quick. So the basic storyline: located at the end of the world, the kingdom of Osmargo is inhabited by beasts of all shapes and forms, ruled by a fearsome, nameless king. After a 100-year war between Osmargo and the neighboring human kingdom ended, a peace treaty was signed, where every year a sacrifice must be sent to be devoured by the king on the night of revelation. So the girl that you see here, now, of course, that was signed 100 years ago. This is not that king, but a later king, the lineage. That's his son. But this is Sarafi, and she's the 99th and latest human sacrifice. And so the show starts out, with her, being sent over to be the sacrifice, and she goes. They take her down into the dungeon where the king is supposed to devour her, and of course she learns what the king's secret is and what this king had been doing, because he didn't want to do that anymore. Had been secretly releasing and letting these girls go, but she's been an outcast because, as you learn, she was actually born to be a sacrifice, and her parents essentially gave her no love because they expected her to die, because she was born in order to save their oldest child, and so she doesn't want to go, and she has no problem. And so you get this wonderful story of this human girl trying to live and adapt in this kingdom of monsters and beasts, and at the same time the king does this because he no longer wants to have this sacrifice thing. He wants to have normalized relations with the human kingdom again, and it's a fantastic story, not just because the two characters are so strong, but you have some wonderful political intrigue because there's factions within his kingdom that don't like the idea of what he's going to do. There's some allegories in terms of caste system and almost supremacy, shall we say, because there's one group that thinks that one type of beast is superior to all others, and therefore they should rule. And then you later learn the backstory, kind of the secret of the king and why he's so smitten and understands Serafi. It's just a fantastic show. The heart in it is just amazing, and that's what just raises it to, at least for me, to a higher level than a lot of other anime shows.
Nice.
Sorry about that. I had a niece interrupt while you were talking. I apologize for the rudeness there. You're probably used to it by now anyway. Jay, how about you? What's your number? We're on number 4, aren't we?
We're on number 4. Okay, and you mentioned earlier about shows that you get so locked into that they keep you up at night, you lose hours. Well, my top 4, these all apply to that. And we'll start, obviously, with number 4, Reacher, which I discovered last week. Burned through season 1, got caught up on season 2. Fantastic. I love how every season is one chapter or one novel or taken from one book. Basically an 8-hour-long episode is each season. And I like the way they set that up. So great show, great acting. Everything's perfect. Just an absolute fantastic show.
I'm on season 1 still, and it's really good. I can't wait to see where it goes. Let's see. Before I get to mine, we have Spiffy Gonzalez joining in. How do you do? Let's see. And Cartoon saying my number 6 is Spy Family. Oh, that's that manga I sold to you at one of the auctions. Right. Yeah,
it's fantastic. Yeah, they've been doing the anime. I'm way behind on it because there's been a lot of other ones, and the fact that I've been reading the manga through the Shonen Jump app, so it's kind of like, oh, I don't need to watch the anime right now. I've seen like most of this first season, but yeah, it's well done.
My number 4 was something I actually liked the trailer of, and I was like, okay, let's see where this is going. I do like a good road rage. If you have it, this is a TV show on Netflix called Beef. And this whole thing is, what is her name? Ali Wong or something. And the dude from Walking Dead they both are having horrible, horrible days, and they just come across each other at the wrong freaking time. And it's a case of where he's trying to back out. He almost hits her or something. She honks the horn, and this is what starts it. And it's about escalation. It's about misunderstanding. It's about wanting to be right. And these two go into it's almost like self-destruction, but it's self-destruction through the attempt of destruction of the other person. And it really does. It escalates to the point where people are ending up getting killed and such. It's a lot better than I ever thought it was. And I'm so freaking glad that I saw this. And I hope they don't f it up with a sequel or anything. Just let it sit. Let it sit where it is. This is a grudge show where both participants deserve everything they get. And yet they're still likable. That's the big thing. These are likable characters who truly deserve every freaking stupid thing that comes to them because they are the arbiters of their destruction. Going ahead, Jay. Sorry about that.
Well, I tell you what, I saw this was done by A24. A24 is knocking it out of the park with everything they're producing these days. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to check this out.
Every time y'all guys are talking, my nieces come up. Sorry, please, by all means, can you repeat that? I apologize.
Sure. Well, I saw that Beef was produced by A24, and A24 is just knocking it out of the park with movies and shows, everything they're producing these days. And I'm definitely gonna re-sign up to Netflix tomorrow, and this is definitely gonna be one of the first things.
Dude, I would love to do an episode-to-episode binge on this one. It is really a good show.
Yeah, this looks good.
Yeah, let's see. Number 5 for cartoons and comics is The Fall of the House of the Usher. We'll get to that. And let's see. Beef is great, says cartoons and comics. Hello to Mod and Nui. What's up? Welcome back. And there you go. So that is my number 4. I'm telling you, that show is just freaking awesome. There you go. All right, let's move on to number 3. I don't see my nieces around, so I can actually pay attention. Okay. My wife is here. I don't know why they're coming to me. She came home now already. All righty, LK, what do you have at number 3?
All right, continuing our anime journey here. Number 3 is a recent anime that came out, and this is a Frieren Beyond Journey's End. It again, the 3 themes with the anime shows that I put on here is they all just have this heart and just this incredible story that just sets them apart from the rest. And this is one that I didn't immediately start watching. I had heard a couple other people say, "Oh yeah, this is really good," or they had read the manga previously and really liked it. And you talk about, again, something where you stay up to watch it. And so when I got around to this, I think the first 6 episodes were out or something. I wound up binging through the first 6. And then every week, it's, like every Friday, it's been, can't wait for the next episode to come out. And so, again, you're kind of in a feudal society here. Basically, it starts out, you have this band of heroes that are put together to stop and defeat the Demon King. And Frieren here is one of the characters with that. Well, she's an elf. And the thing about elves in this world is that they have very, very long time spans. I mean, like a typical elf will live for like 1,000 years. And so it's one of those things where, a decade to her, a decade for us is like a week to her. So, basically they stop the Demon King, and, she comes back 80 years later to kind of check on things. And that's where our story kind of really picks up, because the one hero has already died. The elder priest that she goes and visits, he's basically ready to die. But he has this girl that he's been mentoring that's Fern there, and so she winds up having this new journey where she wants to go to the farthest northern lands, and that's where the demons used to be, because there's an area where they can go and supposedly, you know, talk to those who have passed on. So the people closest to them, they can make a connection one last time to kind of say goodbye. Her whole thing is to say goodbye to the one hero that was part of her group, Himmel, you know, because she never really admitted how she felt about it. And so you get this kind of journey, and you find out, okay, well, number one, the demons aren't completely gone. And it's just this fantastic story about, you know, somebody, who's lived, you know, decades and decades and decades, and trying to come to grasp with that. And you get these wonderful little pieces of flashbacks of, you know, during the party, and, you know, she's finally figuring out and learning some of the things that other people were teaching her. It's just, it's fantastic. It's wonderfully animated. It's the kind of show that Disney should be able to do and wishes they could do, but nobody
just won't.
Has the heart to be able to do it.
And this is a series, okay?
What's that?
This is a TV series. This is an anime series.
Where would we find it?
Yeah.
So, well, okay. So the last three shows that I all mentioned, I have a subscription to Crunchyroll.
Okay.
So they're all on Crunchyroll, but sometimes you can find them on Hulu as well.
Through Amazon, by the way. Through Amazon, Crunchyroll is $2.99 a month for the next 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, she's basically a great kind of elven, you know, witch. So she's got, you know, fantastic kind of, you know, like magic powers. But I mean, there's one great episode where they come across a town that, you know, people are antagonistic towards them because, well, they've made peace with the demons. And she goes, well, you can't make peace with the demons because they'll just lie. They lie to you. That's what their nature is. And of course, it turns out she was right. It's an awesome episode. But yeah, I can't recommend the show strong enough. It's continuing. Season 2 is continuing, starting I think either next week or the week after.
Okay.
But it's been great.
So if it holds up, it might be on 2024 as well. Let's see. It's on Funimation. Farron 2 says cartoons and comics. And MK is asking if you ever saw a show called The Ark. I have not.
I have
don't
not.
know what that is. And Farron is number 3 for cartoons and comics because it reminds him of the feeling of reading Lord of the Rings and Full Metal Alchemist. And Gail, Spiffy and everybody says hello.
Hey, Gail.
And so does Jay. And there you go. All right. There you go. All righty. So what do you have at number? We're on number 3 right here.
We are
right?
number 3, and I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat a little bit here, and I don't care because it's such a good show. It's a 2023 show for me because I watched it for the first time a few months ago, and that's Tulsa King. One of the best, greatest things. I mean, it's right up there with the original Rocky and Rambo movies that Stallone's done. It is one of his premier magnum opuses, if you will. The writing's great. The acting's great. Him as a mobster, I saw him in an interview, and he said that the mafia had always discouraged him from taking on those roles before. I guess, I don't know why. They had their reasons. And that's a shame because he was made to play a mafioso. And he's especially the mafioso with the heart of gold, which is basically what his character is. Even though he doesn't take any crap off anybody. But yeah, if you haven't seen Tulsa King, please do. The good news is they wrapped up season 1. There's supposed to be more of them, but the fact that they're not going to be filming it in Tulsa anymore, and who knows if it's going to get made at all. At least there is a good
yeah, it is. It's a 2022 show, but yes, it is very, very good. My number 3 is kind of a surprise because when I saw the trailer, I felt a little bit cringy. I was like, oh, goodness gracious. But the truth is they're doing video games good now, okay? It's not like it used to be. They're good. They're done well. And this is Twisted Metal.
Really?
Yeah, Twisted Metal is also on Peacock, by the way. This show is incredible, dude. I mean, I was amazed at how good this show was. It is so much fun. It's good and violent the way you want it to be. And they've got all the strange characters. They made sure that people were doing strange things, and like it fit. It fit. You follow the Falcon here. He's the main character, along with what's her name from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Beatrix something or other. And it's got some great car chases. It's got some great violence, as I said before. Just amazing. He's a carrier, so he's given a mission. Go get this, bring it back, that kind of thing. I'll tell you what, though. I really want to talk about what's his name, Sweet Tooth, in this one. The clown with the fiery hair, if you've ever played the game Twisted Metal. This is an actor who is there's an actor playing Sweet Tooth, but the voice is Will Arnett, the guy who does the Lego Batman. But the thing is, the body motions are so on point for the voice. This is something they had to have done in different rooms and such. It's just abso-freaking-lutely perfect. It really is. The coordination, the choreography they had to have to make this guy move, because as Will Arnett talks, he's moving his hands and he's doing it to the point where you can believe that voice was making those body movements. I really love this. Abso-freaking-lutely. They showed the cop, the guy from Wings, and Thomas Howell, something like, I forget his name. Thomas Hayden Church. He plays the big bad. It is just so much freaking fun. Absolutely what you want from one of these shows. I don't know how the trailer was taken. I don't know if LK's people went off on it or anything like that, but dude.
No, I had heard it. It's one of those at one point I meant to see and just hadn't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, do yourself a favor. So Eric is saying Sweet Tooth is Samoa Joe, a wrestler name, but he's saying Samoa Slow. I'm telling you this, man.
Yeah,
it is awesome. Yes, England team plays video games. England team played Twisted Metal Black like it was the only game made when it was out. I played that game a lot. I love that game. But damn, Twisted Metal 2 is my number 3. And yeah, do yourselves a favor. Get Peacock, if only to watch it. There's a lot more reasons to watch it, but Poker Face. There's two things now you should get Peacock for. They should really be paying me, dude. Seriously. Before we get to number 2, let me get some of these. The Ark is a newer space show about survival of humans on an ark in space, different factions since they can't live on Earth anymore. And it debuted in February, kind of like a Battlestar Galactica, it sounds like. Sweet Tooth, okay, got those. Yeah, The Last of Us, Twisted Metal are pretty solid video game shows. Halo should have been bigger. Man, I watched one episode of that. I was like, yeah, nope. Nope. I didn't even make it to him unmasking. I heard he took off the helmet. They're like, well, that's like freaking doing a Judge Dredd movie and having him take off the helmet and run around with Rob Schneider. It just doesn't fit. Doesn't work. Jay, are you a WWE stan like L? Oh, okay, talking about the Jay Lucian. Peacock is free the best part. Okay, so let's go on to number 2.
Number
LK.
2 might be my surprise of the year, and that is the live-action One Piece that was on Netflix. I had dreaded this when I first heard about it. Was not thinking much of it because a lot of the same people that were behind the Cowboy Bebop live action were involved in this. But I give them a 100% credit. They learned their lesson. I also know that Oda-san was involved in the making of this. And when I heard people start to say, "Hey, you know what? This is actually not bad," I was like, "Okay, let me go check this out." Because this was I didn't start watching until a few weeks after it had come out, and for the first episode, I was absolutely hooked. It's amazing to look at. The first thing is that they steered right into the craziness that is One Piece, and I didn't know a ton about the show because I hadn't read the manga, hadn't watched the anime. I just knew of it because of just how hugely popular it is in those circles. But it's amazing looking show. The characters are fantastic. The stories are amazing. My favorite character in there is the admiral, or the general, that marine admiral that's tracking down Luffy and his pirate crew, because there's a neat little twist in there about who the admiral actually is. But yeah, it's just an absolutely fantastic, amazing show. And what was great too is, you know, one of the trends we've had with these types of shows over the last several years has been, you know, dour color palettes. Everything being in grays and you know, blues and stuff.
Like they want to make it look real, like real life.
Well, part of it is to that grittiness. Oh, we've got to ground it in realism nonsense, but also some of it is to hide bad special effects, bad visual effects, because if you have a murky color palette, you can kind of hide the seams. This was just such bright, exploding colors on the screen. It was just such a refreshing thing. And yeah, this was one where I watched the first episode, watched the next episode. It was like, okay, I've got to stop because I've got to work the next day or whatever. But within the week, I had binged through the entire season, and it actually got me to the point where I went and started reading the manga because I wanted to see how closely it tied to the story, and it does. But one of the really nice things they did about it was, whereas the manga starts kind of telling you that the regular story, and then there's a whole arc that's the kind of the entire. Or actually, I take it back. No, the manga starts out with the early stuff and then keeps moving forward. I really liked how they were telling kind of like the current story and did the flashbacks. You know, so we saw Luffy as a kid, so we got to see why he was choosing the path he did, what was motivating him, and those were beautifully done. And so yeah, I cannot wait for season 2. It's the one thing of the writers and the actor strike that does tick me off, is that it's delayed the production of this. That we're not going to see season until 2025.
That does suck. I actually forgot about this. I've seen the first 3 or 4 episodes. This would be my. I would probably put this above Mrs. Davis, make it number 8, which would move Daryl Dixon to 10 and Mrs. Davis to 9. I forgot about this. It is a lot of fun. I agree with you. It's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
All righty. Number 2 for you, Jay.
All right, well, I went ahead and switched my 2 and 1 up. I told you my 1 earlier, but now it's my number 2, and that's Invincible. And the reason I dropped it to 2 is because I enjoyed the entire series up until the halfway point of season 2 a couple weeks ago, and it's fantastic. It, in my opinion, is the best animated superhero show since Justice League Unlimited. And that's with all due respect to the Green Lantern animated series, which is fantastic, and the first couple seasons of Young Justice, which is fantastic. But this is truly exceptional, and I assume it stays true to the comic. Unfortunately, I never read those, but it makes me want to big time, and I can't wait to see the back half of season 2. It is so captivating.
All righty, cool. That was at my number 10, but like I said, with One Piece, it would be in number 11. Okay, my number 2. I told LK when we were all setting up, I said, my number 2 is going to make me feel like the old man, because this is a show about old men and a young girl. It's called Only Murders in the Building. This was season 3. We got guest stars by Paul Rudd, who plays the victim. Oh, goodness. Starts with an S. Big actress. Her right there. Her won Oscars. I can't think of her name right now. But anywho, I thought I was sharing it. That's why I'm yelling her. Oh, okay. Let me try that again.
About to say, I'm not sure who you're pointing to.
There we are. Okay, I'll start it over.
Meryl Streep.
Yeah, but anywho, Meryl Streep. Thank you. That was it. But this is they're putting on a play. Finally, they actually get to put on a play. Martin Short is a producer, and Steve Martin plays a TV actor who finally gets kind of a comeback. And Martin Short's worried that this is going to mess up his play, and they kind of go their own ways for the first few. And of course, it's about, well, how are we going to solve this murder and such like that. And it's just a great mystery show. It really is. And it's a fucking lot of fun. It really is. Martin Short and Steve Martin, who've been friends forever, have such great chemistry. And surprisingly enough, Selena Gomez, who works with them, just jumps right on in. It's kind of cool the way she just she can bounce with the big boys here. It's a thoroughly entertaining show. It's on Hulu, by the way, if you want to give it a try. It's been popular for the last couple of seasons, but it's just one of those shows I find thoroughly entertaining from start to finish. Just a good time to be had. I mean, it's Steve Martin and it's Martin Short. You're not going to go wrong with them.
So it's funny. It's one that's on my list. I think that I finally have to break down and check out. I know when it first got announced or whatever, it was kind of okay, this sounds kind of stupid. I'm gonna pass on it. But I've heard enough people give it praise that I think at some point here I need to check it out.
It's definitely worth the watch. Like I said, the bond between Steve Martin and Martin Short make it damn well worth the watch. They really do bounce off of each other pretty well. In the first season, Nathan Lane is in it as well. He's the guest star, and yeah, absolutely a good time. Oh, by the way, one of the funniest things about this show is Jane Lynch plays Steve Martin's body double and the thing is, it isn't until you see him standing back because you're like, wait, what? Jane Lynch? You're a freaking girl. You're playing. Oh, no, when they stand next to each other, it's like, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay. All right. So anyway, well, let's move on. We are now to the, okay, first let's get some comments. We are now to the #1 TV show of 2023. Before we get there, Venkman, the comic book frog, shows up saying best 4 shows of 2023 are One Piece, Invincible, Bosch Legacy, and Reacher. Mada Nui is saying Omni-Man is fun in MK1. I don't like Only Murders in the Building, but my mom loves it, says I told you. It's marking the old men on this one. It's marking the old people or the older people with respect to your mother there. But yeah, it's also on Amazon Prime, but maybe it's because Brazil doesn't have Hulu. Well, maybe that. But yeah, here in the States, it's on Hulu. Give it a try. But LK, would you like to set up, or you just want to dive right into your #1 show of 2023?
I will set up. So my top 10 reads as follows. Number 10 was Umasumi Pretty Derby Season 3. Mrs. Davis is number 9. Justified City Primeval, number 8. Welcome to Wrexham, number 7. School Spirits is number 6. Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation Season 2 is number 5. Sacrificial Princess and the King of Beasts is number 4. Frieren and Beyond Journey's End is number 3. One Piece, the live action show on Netflix, is number 2. And my #1 show
boom
is Charlie Cale and Poker Face. There was almost no show that I enjoyed more this year than Poker Face. I am a gigantic Columbo fan, huge Banachek fan. I've always loved mystery shows. And when I saw the trailer for this, I was like, okay, I've got to check this out because it's giving me these 70s NBC mystery movie vibes. And yes, it is from the mind of Rian Johnson. But this is the kind of thing that Rian Johnson is good at. Keep him away from Star Wars. Keep him away from other franchises. Let him write mystery shows.
Knives Out and mystery TV shows. That's all we need from him.
Yeah, because I mean, I was a Rian Johnson fan back when he did Brick. And
Brick was
so
awesome.
I know he can write these shows. But from the first moment, I was sucked into this show. So as you mentioned, Charlie Cale, we see her at this point in time. She's a casino waitress, but we learn that with her little gift of kind of knowing when people lied, she tried to be a card shark at one time and tried to swindle people at poker, and she got caught. But this casino owner kind of took her in and said, okay, I'm not going to bust you, but you're going to have to kind of work for me, kind of thing. Well, essentially, something happens. A friend of hers and gets killed. She's talking to basically the casino owner's son. She recognizes that he's lying, that he did it, and so she's got to get out of there, and she leaves. And so you have that as the first episode, and then all the subsequent episodes you can say she's the world's unluckiest woman. But she's basically going from town to town, and of course she's trying to stay under the radar, so she's picking up menial jobs where she can, you know, cash only sort of thing. So you get that kind of drifter feel like The Fugitive. But you know, every place she goes, she winds up into somebody getting killed. And
yeah, and she's got this thing where she just can't walk away. Before we continue, though, hello to Dalton, the Authenticator. What's up?
Yeah, hey, Dalton.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, I don't have a list ready because Sundays are the days that I always reserve for Podcast of the Storm, and I just got finished with this week's episode like not 5 minutes ago.
I'll tell you what, we're talking through ours, and if you want to go through it, we can at least give you, you know, a quick talk about whatever you want to do 5, and then when we wrap up, you can do your number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will say I did pop on just in the hopes that we would be streaming until midnight because, well, it's New Year's Eve, so why not?
We'll see about that.
Why not ring in the new year on stream? Because,
well, you're here, so it might actually get extended. Yeah.
this is also true, considering that just me and OK yesterday managed to go for 3 hours.
I saw that you guys really
we did manage to make 2 other bad comic beatdowns for you and 1 surprising good comic slurp down.
Oh, there you go.
So
I will be
that'll be content.
Those. All right, LK, by all means, please.
Yeah, so you get sucked into this. You have kind of like the murder of the week, where people compare it to Columbo is that you have the trope of you see the murder play out at the beginning, and then basically everything gets gets reversed back, and then you watch how the whole plot plays out. And part of the fun is trying to see if you can identify the little clues or tips that tip her off to something that's happened. What is the thing that the murderer missed that is going to trip them up in the end?
And that's what makes it like Columbo.
Yeah, and so you have that great usual A story, and then you have the B plot of Benjamin Bratt, who's basically the heavy for the casino owner, trying to track her down. And we get to the end of episode 10, where that finally kind of gets resolved to a point, but we get a nice little ending where I'm expecting we get a season 2 here at some point, either 2024 or early 2025. But yeah, when we talk about, again, shows where you were eagerly waiting the next week episode, this was it for me. And as you can see, it debuted back in January, and it's a show that I still talk about and I still think about here at December 31st.
Yeah, your number 1, my number 7.
Yeah.
Jay, how about you? Your number 1 movie of 2023, or what?
My
number 1
number
TV show. Next week is movies. This is TV shows.
Yeah,
I'm happy. I'm very happy with this one. This would be Picard season 3 / TNG season 8. It was so fantastic. They finally got it right. I didn't hate the first 2 seasons as much as others did, but season 3 felt like Star Trek: The Next Generation. It felt like, it had all the character. It was just, I couldn't stop watching. It was fantastic.
Wasn't this the year they brought Q back, or was that last year? Am I misplacing a year?
You're misplacing a year. That was the previous season, and that wasn't horrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. But this was Star Trek: The Next Generation. Season 3, even if you have a remote interest in Star Trek, do yourself a favor. You don't even need to watch the first 2 seasons. Just watch Picard season 3. By far my favorite show of the year.
Well, there you go.
I'm gonna have to take you up on that, because I will say, like, the most I can say for season 2 is that I enjoyed seeing Q back, because I'm just, John Delancey is one of those character actors who plays the same character in everything, and he clearly loves playing Q because every character he plays is sort of pseudo Q, even Discord on MLP is sort of pseudo Q.
The only one that wasn't was his character in Breaking Bad. What's her face's dad, but yeah, everyone else is. There is a little bit of Q in everybody he plays.
Yeah.
You want to, Jay? You want to recap?
My top here. Okay.
Yeah, you had 8.
I had. Well, let's go on and make it 7. Remember, I had to knock one out.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Number 7, The Boys. Number 6, Superman and Lois. Number 5, Yellowstone. Number 4, Reacher. Number 3, I'm cheating here, Tulsa King. Number 2, Invincible. And number 1, Picard Season 3.
All righty. I am going to ask you guys to take some comments, and I will be right back.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Let's
You're
see.
a TNG fan, Dalton?
I am a massive TNG fan. I love Star Trek in general, with the exception of everything post Kelvin timeline. Let's not get it.
I'm not going to give too much away, but something that might entice you. I'm just going to give you one word: row.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh no.
Ensign Row. We'll say 2 words. Okay. Yeah.
They brought Ensign Row back. That's awesome.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I can't wait now. God damn it. I was just thrilled when Q came back. Obviously, I agree with said it a little bit ago. I agree with MK. I love Q, and I don't like that they made up an excuse as to why an immortal is dying.
I agree.
It does annoy me. I do like the connection between the Q and the El-Orians and Q and Guinan in particular, because they've been hinting at that literally since Q's 2nd episode, I believe, because Q's first episode was the pilot for TNG. It was Encounter at Farpoint, but I want to say the second Q episode, or the 3rd one, was when they set up the relationship between Guinan and Q. My headcanon was always that Q did to the El-Orians what he did to the crew of the Enterprise, i.e. when they pissed him off, he flicked them into the path of a Borg cube. And I always operated on the assumption that maybe Q and Guinan dated back when she was still on Eloria, and that might have been the reason why he zapped the Q or zapped the Borg into the vicinity of Eloria. Which I wish they would have done more on, because if the Borg are, or at least a sizable portion of the Borg are El-Orian, which they would have to be because of what Guinan said, that means that certain segments of the Q are basically biologically immortal.
Yeah.
Because the El-Orians are insanely long-lived. But anyway, that's me geeking out about Star Trek again.
So Cartoons and Comics said his number 1 is One Piece, but I have to say I don't know where to put Blue Eye Samurai. It's like the best animated series since Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've heard good things about that. I saw it was on Netflix. I put it in my watch list. I haven't gotten there yet. I
haven't watched Blue Eye Samurai yet, but you comparing it to Avatar: The Last Airbender is it's certainly good company to be in if you're right. So there's that.
So MK is saying this poker face chick has a superpower to tell people are like, well, I wouldn't call it a superpower. She just has a feeling that, if you were talking to her and you said, hey, the sky is yellow, she's gonna go, I don't think you're telling the truth. And so that just is kind of how she's able to, figure these things out. It works well. Let's see, Frog there.
Samuel Proctor is joining the chorus of people wanting a drunk stream again. I'm pretty sure Gale has vetoed all future drunk streams, because you have to remember, guys, that Anglintine is caught between the twin pillars of Gale and Maranya, so he's not gonna get away with much of that stuff, I don't think.
Yeah. So let's see. Power Slam that woman. Okay. I don't think we're getting a drunk stream this year. Frog found a Back to the Future diecast DeLorean today at Walmart. It's funny. I posted in the X chat today. So I took a little video of my trip to Walmart, just to have video proof of what at least my Walmart thinks of the Aquaman 2 action figures. Because I had seen it a week or two ago before Christmas at Walmart. Went down the toy aisle and was looking at things, and I was like, wow, there's no Aquaman 2 stuff here. I would have thought it'd be here. And so as I was looking for Christmas stuff, they have this one area where it's like where they put seasonal stuff up towards the kind of the front of the store.
Yeah, like they do. Yeah,
up against the wall. And I was going down that aisle, and I turned the corner, and I was like, what? And so on this end cap facing a wall, so nobody is going to see it walking by. The only way you're going to see it is if you happen to go all the way down this aisle and turn, was an end cap of their Aquaman 2 action figures and vehicle playset.
They exiled Aquaman 2 to the no man's land bin.
Well, not just in no man's land, but I mean, you wouldn't know where it was unless you accidentally stumbled upon it. I'm not even sure the employees at Walmart know where that stuff is. So I had to go with this. I had to go back today to as I was out, and like, let me go double check. Let me take a little video footage of this so I can post it up sometime. But there was that, and also the hilarious thing of how the fat pregnant Jessica Drew figures from Across the Spider-Verse have multiplied at my Walmart.
Yeah.
So pregnant Jessica Drew, yay! But God help you if you want Aquaman 2 representation in the toy aisle.
Well, but I mean, here's the thing though. In kind of the Marvel section, there was two pegs, and the only figures that were left were 3 Zendaya Mary Jane figures from Spider-Man No Way Home, 3 of the female Elektra Daredevil Marvel Legends figures, and the 3 Jessica Drew fat pregnant black figures from Across the Spider-Verse. And the funny thing about the Jessica Drew ones are, God, this would probably be at least 6 months ago. When they had the figures out, there was one of those figures on the peg. A few months later, go back, I could still see that exact same one because I recognized the way that the cardboard looked. It was slightly bent. Come back again, then saw 2. The exact same one and a new one. It was like, well, they had to fill the peg.
Obviously they're not selling. Who could have predicted this?
And then
Everyone.
last month, sure enough, now there's 3 because they have to fill the peg. So I know that probably in the back somewhere there is a case of these that are going to go unsold and just sit there and gather.
Who could have predicted people not, especially kids, not liking pregnant Jessica Drew action figures?
No, MK, I did not hear that Disney is doing a Nomad show. Not quite sure. Are you talking about like a Marvel Nomad, which would be kind of weird?
I assume that he means Nomad, which I guess gives John Walker something to do, because his storyline basically is dead after the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or has been for the longest time. So that at least makes some kind of sense. Honestly, though, the only content that I'm looking forward to in the Marvel Universe, other than Deadpool 3, obviously, because it's Deadpool 3, so you'd have to really screw something up for me not to be excited for Deadpool 3. But the only one that I'm actually excited for on its own terms is Agatha Darkhold Diaries, because Agatha, I think, was the standout introduced character in Phase 4, and I'm glad that she got her own show, or is getting her own show. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to from the MCU at this point, though, because they're not building on Werewolf by Night or the monster side of the universe at all, even though they should. And Blade has been stuck in so much production hell that God only knows what they're going to do. And I still maintain they shouldn't do a Doctor Strange 3 until like 2030, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah. So let's see, cartoon comics. Yeah, no Jason Momoa. Yeah, the Aquaman didn't really look too much like him. I wouldn't even see necessarily the animated movies. I'm just not quite sure what they were. But I mean, they had like the little 3-inch ones marked down to $3. I mean, and MK, yes, I do remember that controversy around the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle figure. So basically, it was a Target thing, and it was this collector's pack that had their minibus and 4 figures plus an April, and some of them were black April and some of them were white April.
Okay,
so,
we're going to talk about movies next week, and I got to tell you, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles wasn't bad. It was actually pretty good. So yeah, sorry about that, guys. Oh, and Samuel, probably next week. I've got the nieces. I was the only adult here that doesn't have COVID and is under the age of 1,000. So yeah, it just wouldn't have been appropriate were I to do a drunk
Curse
stream.
your responsibility to the adulthood.
Yeah. That's fine. That's fine. But so I'm going to postpone the drunk stream probably to next week. So there you go. Where were we? Did you say a list at all there, Dalton?
I didn't yet. Honestly, I'm not even sure if I could do a top 5, considering I don't watch much
TV very much.
I don't watch TV very much unless it's a show that like there's buzz about or that people are talking about. Like, I can sit here and extol the virtues of Invincible season 2, no problem, because Invincible season 2 is great, and Gen V was pretty good, and a show that I guess not a lot of people remember, but I actually ended up watching it with Mr. E2099 the day it came out, and then I did a video on it on my main channel. The Fall of the House of Usher TV show from Mike Flanagan was actually very, very good. It came out around Halloween this year, and it was
well, let's talk about that. Let's get
Halloween
back on
issues.
track. Let's get back on track since you brought up the Fall of the House of Usher. Right?
Yeah, that would probably be my number 1 this year, just from my limited exposure for
that.
All
just so happens, by the way, to be my number 1 show of the year. Absolutely fantastic. This is, of course, the guy who did the Haunting of Hill House or Haunting on House, whatever.
He also made the movie Dr. Sleep in 2019. Great movie.
This is basically, you get the head of the House of Usher. He's telling a story about how his kids have died. He actually that's not a spoiler. He actually starts off, my family's dead, and let me tell you why. And they go through, and every episode is a telling of an Edgar Allan Poe story. And as each kid is taken out, they're taken out within one of these stories. And
it's very much a Twilight Zone-ish way they die, too. It's sort of a getting comeuppance for their various sins and so on kind of thing.
Yes. And Gina Carlo, whatever her name is here, she is the arbiter of death.
Yeah, she is an entity which apparently the Usher family made a deal with so many years ago, and now she's coming to collect. And if you want to know in greater detail as to who she is or who she might be, because the show never really explains, go to my channel and find the video entitled "Who Exactly is Verna" from Fall of the House of Usher, because I did a whole video on it.
But the one thing everybody talks about as far as this is concerned about is how freaking awesome is Mark Hamill in this show.
Yeah,
I mean,
seriously, he plays a sleazy rich lawyer, dude.
He plays the baddie. He plays the muscle. He's like 70 years old, and he's Mark Hamill. He stands maybe 6 inches tall. He's an action figure. He's not a tall guy, but he plays the muscle. He plays the guy that everybody should be afraid of if they decide to go after the Usher family.
Usher family, yeah.
Yeah, and I love the bit at the end with him. I'm not going to spoil anything because I think.
I know exactly what you mean, though.
It's on
and
Netflix.
it is great.
He has a scene with the Arbiter of Death, and he stands up. He understands he's against a power he cannot defeat, and he treats it accordingly. And it is just so fucking good.
Yeah, no, he's awesome. And the woman who plays Verna, who is, as you say, the main incarnation of death or whatever, she is also great. And yeah, it's a very great show, and you can tell that Mike Flanagan, who did a lot of experience with Netflix TV shows and also with the 2019 movie Dr. Sleep, which, by the way, is a great movie and I think is better than the original Shining. Don't shoot me.
I do too, actually, but I'm not a big fan of Kubrick's Shining.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I am not a bit. I hate the Kubrick Shining so much, but that's neither here nor there. But Mike Flanagan is one of those unsung sort of geniuses of genre filmmaking, and he brings the skills to follow the House of Usher, and it definitely is probably my favorite show of the year as well.
Yeah, it is absolutely mine to recap. I had to push things back because I was reminded of One Piece. I apologize on this one. Invincible was the original number 10, but at number 10 had Daryl Dixon. Number 9 was Mrs. Davis. Number 8 is One Piece. Number 7, Poker Face. Number 6, Silo. Number 5, Superman and Lois. Number 4, Beef. Number 3, Twisted Metal. Number 2, Murders in the Building. Only More Murders in the Building, season 3. And Fall of the House of Usher. Incredible season, incredible year. Gentlemen, I would love to stay until midnight. Do you guys think you can hang out for a while?
Yeah, why not?
I'm about to call it a night myself.
Okay, my point being is things are happening here that I do not want on the microphone.
Okay.
Just she is acting up and fights are starting, and I don't want to air family.
Yeah. I can take the reins if you need somebody to take the reins.
I certainly appreciate it. Venkman, if you want to jump on, that would be awesome as well. But thank you very much, guys, for watching the whole thing. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I enjoy going through this kind of thing. I think next week, either Sunday or Monday, we're going to do movies. And I do owe you a drunk stream. I definitely, I'll do that, sure. It's just that, once again, it would have been irresponsible with the nieces here. So,
are we doing best or worst first next week?
LK, you want to participate in the movie thing? Jay, you want to participate? What do you feel like?
Well, I have to think about it. I mean, if I do, it'd mostly be best because, again, I kind of purposely made a point of not watching bad movies.
Well, I watch a movie that interests me, and if it turns out to be bad, I might only watch a few, or I'll watch maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, give it a try, and then talk. How about a twiddle stream? I would like to do that. I was actually thinking of getting a light box for him to hang out in, but I would like that. I just have to figure out how to do it, where I could just put a camera on Twiddles and it will be the Twiddles channel. Just let him do. I just have to figure that out. And I have nothing to talk about as far as comics. I know a lot of people with comic book channels have already done their top 20 comics or top 10 comics 2023. I do bad comic. You do one. I do bad comic beatdown.
Yeah.
So mine would be, Wonder Woman #1 was better than Fire and Ice #3. I've got some good books, but yeah, I would definitely do it. But you guys are going to do most of the talking.
Yeah, I don't read most modern books. I always wait until things are in like trade or omnibus format before I read stuff.
Yeah, here we go. We could do that kind of stuff. But yeah, we can do a comics. Like we could do Sunday, we could do comics. Monday, we could do the movies and so forth and so on. There you go.
Cool.
All righty, gang. I am going to step away. By all means, find topics, do what you need to do to ring in the new year. And thank you very much for hanging out with us, and or with me anyway. They're going to continue. And Happy New Year, kids. See you.
Happy New Year, England team.
Happy New Year.
Mm-hmm.
Have fun, kids.
And
That was
away we
proposed.
go.
Mail it
For
in.
once again, E has given me the E has given me the reins to play with. So
Yeah, and
so
that was so nice of you, Dalton. You Happy New Year. Mm-hmm. You
so,
couldn't
sorry.
say
I was momentarily distracted because I was trying to think of what order I'm going to put movies into
Okay. Fair enough.
next week.
Well, I'm going to leave this to you guys too. I'm going to go chill out. I'll listen here in the background. Happy New Year to you both. Had fun talking to both of you guys this year and tonight.
Yep.
See you later.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Jack.
Yeah. And then it became the Dalton and LK show again for the second time in as many days.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means we're going up in the world or if the channel in general is going down in the world, but only the audience will be able to tell. I suppose.
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. I know. Let's see here. Ed, hey, welcome. I know he's saying if I had to pick one, is it School Spirit or Mrs. Davis? Boy, that's a tough one. I would probably, for me personally, I would go with School Spirits because, well, it didn't necessarily have the highs of Mrs. Davis. It was consistent throughout, and it definitely had the better ending, especially with the twist ending in the final episode that just made you go, holy crap, and can't wait for season 2. Whereas Mrs. Davis pretty much told its story. I know there's talk about being a season 2, but as I said, I think it just got too gonzo out there and then had to try and reel itself back in, and it just didn't work. So my choice there would be School Spirits on there. So everybody's saying Happy New Year. So I know at least on the East Coast here, it looks like we've got about 20 more minutes or so.
Yep, thereabouts.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of topics here. I mean, without obviously delving into sports or politics. I mean, fandom in 2023 going into 2024. It's going to be very, very interesting what happens because I think we have finally seen the reckoning in terms of the normie audience starting to turn away.
Well, more than that, also the investor money of the ESG and so on is beginning to dry up, and it began to dry up just before the strikes happened. So between the loss of the ESG investor money, or at least the majority of it, and the strikes and all of the other bombs that happened this year, I think Hollywood is finally waking up to the apparently rather rude realization of, wait, you mean we should cater to our audience? ? Yes. Why was that not plan A? Oh wait, because of the ESG money. Never mind.
It's not just catering to the audience, but catering to a larger audience. The problem is, yeah, they've been catering to an audience, but it's a very niche audience that sorry.
It's a mostly hypothetical audience because
despite what they want to make you believe, in fact, the progressive LGBTQ, XYZ, and all their allies is really maybe about 10%.
I will put an asterisk there because of, and I'll explain why I put an asterisk there, because of how well Barbie did. And the reason I put the asterisk there is not just because, well, Barbie did amazingly well at everything, but the thing is, there have always been two audiences, because Barbie is not an isolated incident. I know I might be dating myself a little bit here, but I remember the days when the 3 biggest franchises in the world of cinema were Twilight, Hunger Games, and 50 Shades of Grey. And that, I think, is the main audience that made Barbie as successful as Barbie became. The issue is the film intelligentsia, or the film industry, wants to simply replace the male, mostly nerdy superhero movie or action movie audience with the audience of things like Twilight, 50 Shades, and of course eventually Barbie. But the thing is, you can't swap one audience for the other. You simply cannot do it because they want different things. They want entirely different genres. And one thing we can definitely say, based on the quote-unquote woke stuff that has bombed, is that the audience that began, flexing its muscle with things like Twilight and 50 Shades, and eventually would grow into the audience of Barbie, wants stuff of its own. They don't want to see what if we hand deliver the superhero genre to that audience on a silver platter. The extremely gynocentric female audience wants extremely gynocentric female oriented content. And you can't just say, we don't want this geeky male audience anymore, or we want the audience of Twilight and 50 Shades and Barbie. That's not going to work. You can't mix and match like that. You have to cater to both audiences because they are, for the most part, two separate audiences. Now, every great now and again, you will find an IP or a franchise that can appeal to both, and that's where you get into the $2 million metrics. But in general, if you want the audience of both something like Barbie and something like Top Gun Maverick, those are two separate audiences. So the only option is to make different movies that cater to both audiences, or to try to find the middle ground that will cater to both somehow.
Well, therein though lies the problem, especially as we've seen with Star Wars and now we've seen with Marvel, is you have this generation of activists who keep going around and saying there's no difference between the two genders, that male and female are exactly the same, and therefore everybody should like the same thing, and how dare you try to exclude women out of this and that. But to get back to Barbie, the thing about Barbie, and again, of course, I'm sure that all the studio executives are going to learn all the wrong lessons with Barbie. Barbie is an exception. Barbie was a perfect timing mechanism, along with probably the single best marketing campaign of the last decade when it came to movies. And more importantly, too, I think a lot of people don't realize just how big and how long the Barbie, if you want to call it franchise, but Barbie has been around.
The brand.
Multiple generations of women and girls, and yes, boys, whatever.
I watched and enjoyed a couple of the Barbie movies when I was a kid, but I was also gay, so there's that.
You've got tens and tens of millions of people with Barbie. I mean, I'm sorry, if you probably honestly did a serious survey, they dwarf whatever the biggest Marvel audience was. I mean, that was the size of the audience that you had to go over, that you had the opportunity to attract. And then you had a fantastic marketing campaign where, number one, until kind of the very end, they kept away, did not focus on telling the story. It was all about showing Margot Robbie as Barbie and being cute and funny. And then you had a lot of great viral marketing where they set up a Barbie house at San Diego Comic-Con. There were a lot of other kind of viral events, and that got them a ton of free publicity, both in, say, whatever local news in whatever city they were set up in, as well as on social media. And
of course, there was also the unintentional factor, the fact that unintentionally they accidentally kind of made it a men's rights movie by making KRENIZ sympathetic as they did.
Well, but I mean, you also had, again, too, the whole thing with the Barbie and Oppenheimer thing. And
yeah,
plus,
Oppenheimer.
When Barbie came out, it had basically, or when it was scheduled, it wound up kind of clearing the field. And again, because of how poor Disney movies were, there was no other movie in that time frame for women and girls to go see. If they were going to go to the movies, it was going to go to see Barbie. There was nothing else to detract. That being said, I don't think that the social justice in the case of Barbie was actually that much of a discouraging factor, or would have been, because of the simple fact that, like I was saying, if you take the box offices of something like Twilight or 50 Shades or Hunger Games and you adjust them for inflation, you wind up in the exact range that Barbie actually made. And I say that because
keep in mind that when, 50 Shades and Twilight and Hunger Games came out, all of those girls and their mothers, for it must be said that it appealed both to teenage girls and their middle-aged moms, all of them were either teenage girls or middle-aged moms. Now, most of those teenage girls eventually went away to college, where they were then indoctrinated into Gender Studies 101 and Feminism 101 circa about 2013 through 2016. And therefore, not only was, the Barbie IP sort of inherently female focused, because duh, but it's also the fact that I don't think the social justice or the feminism actually was a detraction for the audience that they were aiming at, because all of those teenage girls who, clawed each other's eyes out over Team Edward versus Team Jacob eventually went away to college, where they became, in large part, indoctrinated into feminism for better or more likely worse, in my opinion. But that's
right. And one thing you have to remember too, like with the Twilight franchise, was it was based off a book series that had generated millions upon millions of readers. So you had that primed. I know MK is asking here, so why did Birds of Prey and Marvels fail where Barbie scored big?
I have an answer. I have an answer for you there. Okay, if you want to go first, you can go first by all means.
There's multiple answers, and the first thing is that it's two different audiences. Yeah, Birds of Prey and the Marvels both had female heroes, but you didn't have. The existing audience of women for Birds of Prey and Marvels was minuscule compared to people who knew what Barbie was. So you were already working from a small pool to start with.
Well, but there's that, and there's like I said at the start of this particular topic, the thing that Hollywood really needs to get through their freaking heads is that for as much as they want to replace the mostly male, mostly nerdy audience for superhero movies and action movies with the audience for things like Twilight, 50 Shades, Hunger Games, and Barbie, they are two separate audiences. They are not interchangeable. They don't cross over, and they don't want the same things, i.e. the uber feminist, uber gynocentric people who are the kinds of people who lost their shit over Twilight when they were teenagers and who lost their shit over Barbie this year when it came out, doesn't want the male-tainted superhero genre. They want their own IPs with their own shit. The second factor, and I think this is a key factor as to why so many woke things bomb, whereas Barbie did not bomb, the difference is, for male audiences, and I'm sure most men in the chat can back me up here, there's this informal thing called the rule of cool. For female audiences, the equivalent of the rule of cool, which isn't to say that no women are susceptible to the rule of cool, but it's a very gendered phenomenon. The female equivalent to the rule of cool is the rule of pretty. And the difference between something like Birds of Prey or something like Velma or something like She-Hulk and Barbie is, something like Barbie or Captain Marvel or Velma sees beauty standards as oppressive and therefore deliberately ideologically rails against them by centering the most ugly, the most bitter, and the most inherently unlikable on-purpose protagonists. Whereas Barbie, even with all the feminist gobbledygook that was tacked on, because Greta Gerwig, she was still a remarkably pretty, and her setting was remarkably pretty, and she also, at least superficially, was a likable character. Never underestimate the rule of cool for men or the rule of pretty for girls. Never. And that's why one of the most handicapping aspects of social justice ideology is the idea that beauty standards or meritocracy are oppressive. Because if you deliberately rail against the rule of pretty and the rule of cool, almost your entire audience vanishes into thin air. But even if you have the ideological propaganda, as long as you cater to the rule of cool or the rule of pretty, most people are going to be okay with it. They're going to take the toxic ideology, and it's going to run off them like water off a duck's back, because much like a dog who, you put their medication in peanut butter or cheese or something, as long as the surrounding stuff is satisfying or pretty enough, nobody cares. Or the average person doesn't care, I should say.
It's the one dirty little secret that feminism, refuses to acknowledge, and that is people still like to look at pretty people, especially in TV and movies.
Yeah. And that rule of pretty extends both to obviously the physical aspect, but also the personality aspect too. Which is why, even though Brie Larson is a very attractive person, the fact that they made her character extremely angry and bitter on purpose was itself violating the rule of pretty, because pretty in the context of the rule of pretty means both being a pretty person but also being having a likable, or at least superficially likable, personality.
Yeah, I gotta run upstairs real quick. I'll be back in a minute or two here.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what. I don't see any new stuff in the chat. I don't know if my chat is just behind, which it might be. Let me click new comments and see what comes up. There we go. That fixed it. Have I seen the Ark? I don't believe so. What is the Ark? Someone please fill me in, or MK, since you're the one that asked the question. What is the Ark? I have not yet seen the Ark, and I moreover have not heard of it and don't know what it is. So someone please fill me in on what it is. And I do hope that my long rambly tirade did answer your question. I saw you said good answer, but I hope that it was sufficient to the question you were asking. The Ark is a stant show, came out in past February. Show on Sci-Fi. Season 1 is on Peacock, a show about humans living on arcs in space since they can't live on Earth anymore. Okay. No, I have not seen that. The last sci-fi show that I made a point to always watch was Sci-Fi's The Magicians. Because Sci-Fi's The Magicians was really good. Also, I thought that Deadly Class, which came on like right around the same time as The Magicians, was very good. I haven't really watched much. I haven't had really access to terrestrial TV in a while, because round about 2020 or 2021, my family decided to go the all streaming services model rather than paying for terrestrial TV. So if I do see new terrestrial TV shows, it's either because I've heard really good or really bad things about them. I don't generally seek out new TV shows unless it's in my like Netflix queue or one of the streaming services recommends it to me. So I haven't been able to catch up on like new shows in a long time. And like a third of my Christmas list every year is box sets and or like Blu-rays and DVDs of old shows. Like this year, I asked for Friday the 13th, the series, Dexter, American Gods, and what was the other show that I ended up? Oh, Danny Phantom and Ed and Eddie, because they're some of my favorite cartoons from my childhood. But yeah, like a third of my Christmas list every year is DVD box sets of old shows, so I don't really keep up with new shows very often, unless it's somewhere in my recommended queue, which Netflix and other streaming services are remarkably bad about putting new things in the recommended queue. I know my family my family in general is really big into the show Yellowstone, which doesn't surprise me considering from what I hear from like YouTube commentators, Yellowstone is allegedly quote unquote conservative, which I take with a grain of salt because that can literally mean anything that isn't the dominant zeitgeist at this point gets called conservative regardless of how conservative it is or is not. The Sandman, as in the Netflix adaptation of my favorite comic ever made that slowly ruined my favorite comic ever made, was 2022. I did several reviews of it on several channels because, well, everyone knows me as the guy who talks about Sandman all the time. Because the first 8 volumes of it are amazing. The latter 2 or 3, yeah, not so much, because the ending was not in any way sensible and was a total ego-stroking exercise from Neil Gaiman.
Still mad about Sandman, huh? Let's see, as we've got about under 30 seconds left to go here on the East Coast folks. So, Happy New Year.
Down.
Bring you happiness, joy.
Maybe this year will be better than the last.
Let's not get too maudlin here, but yeah. So, and Happy New Year.
I do actually have a bottle of absinthe that I got for Christmas that I could take a drink of. I'm not sure I want to just chug a sip of absinthe, though.
So,
that would not go well. Also, I kind of want to treat my absinthe in the traditional style and get one of those like seltzer fountains and a sugar cube and do up the old school traditional way, because that's how you're technically supposed to consume absinthe. That wasn't how I consumed absinthe the first time. In the first place, it was at the Ren Fair, and it was mixed with ginger ale, but that was pretty good, which is how I figured out that I like absinthe.
Happy New Year to everybody there on the East Coast. So, hey, listen, if you want to help out you want to put in a super chat, I'll take a sip here for, a super chat.
Yes, we might wind up getting a drunken LK stream as the first stream of the new year.
I know my limits, so it would only get to a certain place, but
and I would gladly submit myself to get drunk on absinthe, except that I'm not sure I can get the cork out of the bottle of absinthe at the moment, and I don't have a corkscrew handy.
Yeah, that is always an issue.
As much as I'm sure the audience would be entertained by me being drunk off my ass on absinthe.
Yeah, well, especially if it's good absinthe.
Well, it's
I should say it's the real stuff.
Yeah, it's called Absinthe Original, and it's actually a French absinthe. So, yeah, my family definitely didn't skimp on me. My little brother actually, obviously, my mom helped him pick it out, but my little brother gave it to me for Christmas this year, and my other little brother got me a pretty amazing new black coat, which I'm quite pleased with.
I was reading some nonsense there online. Let's see. I was trying to think. Of other topics to talk about. Well, so it's funny. I think looking ahead to 2024, especially, I watched a channel earlier in the week. Somebody had put together a list of like main upcoming movies for 2024, and the sad thing about the list was all but 3 were either sequels, reboots, or references to other existing material.
See, that in and of itself, I don't mind, because Hollywood has always done remakes or readaptations of classic literature or other IPs. So,
But
like,
not to this,
that
not
in and
to
of
this
itself
degree.
doesn't bother me. The problem is when the standard for remake or reboot or sequel is shit. And that's the bigger problem, I think.
Well, yeah, it's Inside Out 2. It's shoot, what's the 4th one? Like a new Minions movie is coming out. It's just so much.
I'm gonna be somewhat controversial here and say that of the 2 Disney like villain centric IPs, I really wish Megamind had come out before Despicable Me did, because of the way they were released, because of the fact that Despicable Me got released first, Megamind kind of got buried. And of the 2 DreamWorks villain IPs, I would much rather have seen sequels or spin-offs to Megamind than I would, or even prequels maybe of Megamind, rather than the Despicable Me movies and the Minions movies. I don't mind the mainline Despicable Me movies. Like, they're fine, they're disposable, they're whatever. Megamind, though, was actually a very smart movie, especially being as it was semi-superhero genre oriented. And I actually would have liked to have seen a further continuation of Megamind rather than Despicable Me. And I absolutely despise the Minions movies because it learns all the wrong lessons from the Despicable Me franchise, which in and of itself is only serviceable anyway. So in a sane world, I would be getting like 3 or 4 Megamind movies, but we don't live. In case the last decade or so hasn't tipped anyone off, we don't exactly live in the most sane of timelines. We don't live in the darkest timeline either, despite what some people might have you believe. But I often maintain with a friend of mine that we don't live in the darkest of timelines. We live in the most absurd of timelines.
Yeah, I was trying to look. It's not Movie Insider. Shoot, there was a really good place that had a full list of movies. Well, this one's not bad actually. So Movie Insider has a list here. I don't know. We can kind of look on here to see if there's anything that sounds remotely interesting, or there's anything you recognize.
MK, first of all, thank you for Sight Unseen complimenting my taste. Yes, I do take my taste somewhat seriously. I tend to have a sweet tooth because I don't actually much like the taste of alcohol. But like, some of my favorite things include mead. I, as a general rule, really enjoy mead. Mead is one of my favorite things to drink in general. The first like kind of alcohol that I ever finished a whole bottle of myself was Honey Jack. I really enjoy Honey Jack. Like I recently alluded to, I discovered the last time I was at the Ren Fair that I have a taste for absinthe, which my family has now encouraged, and now I have a nice French bottle of it, which I have yet to open, mostly because I can't find a freaking bottle opener. As a general rule, though, I drink for taste. I don't drink to get drunk. I've only ever been tipsy, and in my experience, I don't like the sensation of being tipsy. So I usually have a 1 drink limit when I drink. Another of my favorite drinks is cream de Serrano. As for the second question you asked, which was my thoughts on the Toy Story franchise, I like Toy Story 1 and 2. And at risk of being heretical, I don't like Toy Story 3. I found it incredibly saccharine and emotionally manipulative. Toy Story 4 is utterly disposable and probably shouldn't have existed.
Mute myself here. Excuse me. I don't know if you can pull up my shared screen or not.
I don't think I can unless the settings have changed.
No.
The only settings I have at the moment are remove from stage, solo layout, mute and unmute, or edit mic settings. Although maybe if I click your name, that might help things. Maybe no, that didn't do anything.
Well,
I can put you in the center of the screen, and then if you
no.
we tried this last night, and VENKMAN had to come in and pull our asses out of the technical difficulties fire.
I was hoping that the settings changed, but it's no big deal. I'm not sure how much longer we're gonna keep.
Well, I mean, you can still go through the list of like upcoming things, and we can discuss our thoughts on things.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, like when you're looking at like say major releases, the first one coming out on Friday is Night Swim, which actually is listed here as a remake, which is interesting.
I don't have anything against that movie. I don't know anything about it, and it doesn't look like my kind of movie, though, to be fair.
Yeah, well, it looks like some kind of horror suspense deal. But then the following week, so there's a couple of interesting pictures here. So you've got The Beekeeper. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for that. That's the new Jason Statham movie. Lack of a better term, I'm going to say it's basically Reacher with a conscience, but not quite that. I mean, it's like a, I don't want to call him an assassin, but it's essentially, like somebody, I think the overall thing is like, somebody or some company steals hundreds of millions of dollars from somebody, and he gets on the track to get it back and get revenge for people. And
so somewhere between Taken and John Wick.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think with a little bit, at least from the trailer, it seems like a little bit more of an ESG edge.
Is it from the same production company as John Wick? Because I found myself enjoying basically everything that they put out. Bullet Train was really good, and I found last year's Violent Night to also be really good. And Nobody, I want there to be a John Wick versus Nobody crossover.
Yeah, well, I mean, MGM is the studio that's putting it out. It looks like the production company's Miramax. So it's David Ayer that's directing it. That's interesting. And then the other movie on January 12th is The Book of Clarence, which, boy, oh boy, they're going to have to really stick the landing on this one not to get raked over the coals.
What is it, a sequel to The Book of Eli?
No. Let's see. I'll tell you from here, the plot is inspired by classic Hollywood epics set in biblical times. The Book of Clarence tells the tale of Clarence, a down-on-his luck denizen of Jerusalem, embarking on a misguided attempt to capitalize on the rise of celebrity and influence of the Messiah, Jesus, for his own personal gain, a journey that leads him on an exploration of the idea of faith into a highly unexpected path of his own. And the thing about it is,
okay, so it's like it's Life of
Brian.
Yeah, Life of Brian. There we go.
Possibly, because at times it looks like it is going to be kind of that jokey, satirical thing, but then it kind of takes this turn. Plus, Clarence is black. All of his friends are black. The only
okay. So we're dealing with Afrocentrism again.
So you're gonna have a racial element to it, and it depends on just how deep and how overt that element is.
That's. I mean, it might be like a Tyler Perry-esque, like or Jordan Peele-esque blaxploitation type thing.
Possibly, but
I'm not saying that a part of me doesn't cringe at the concept of inexplicable Middle Easterners being portrayed by black people thing, but there have been enough like black comedies not to be confused with, you know, black in tone comedies. But there have been enough, you know, Tyler Perry's and Jordan Peele's in the world, and so on and so forth, to make me think this could just be like a blaxploitation version of Life of Brian, which doesn't sound awful on paper.
Yeah, on paper is the problem.
Yeah, the proviso that I must inevitably. I mean, this is the same year where we're getting the American Society of Magical N-words that I don't think I can get away with saying.
Yeah, we'll skip over. Skip over that one. But on the 19th, we at least get some new properties here. So there's a movie called ISS. Tensions flare in the near future aboard the International Space Station as a worldwide conflict breaks out on Earth. Reeling from this, astronauts receive orders from the ground: take control of the station by any means necessary. It could be interesting. I don't really. Anna DuBose. I've heard the name, but I'm not sure if I could pick her out of a crowd. We'll see. It's a Bleecker Street.
I know her name. I can't place anything that she's been in that I've seen or liked. So
yeah, and then we get a crash landing alien planet movie called Distant, which sounds like it could potentially be interesting. But I haven't really heard too much about it. But at least it's something new. And then nothing really there. So the one that I'm looking forward to, this might be the movie I'm most looking forward to for 2024. And right now it's scheduled to come out February 2nd. I thought for some reason it was supposed to come out in April, but maybe they moved it up. And that is Argyle.
That's the Henry Cavill one, right?
Yes. And
I really hope good things befall him after, like, I never liked Man of Steel, but based on what I've seen of Henry Cavill on social media and in real life, Man of Steel being bad was never Henry Cavill's fault. The biggest problem with Henry Cavill's iteration of Superman was that they never let it be an iteration of Superman, which isn't to say that Henry Cavill, the massive nerd that he is, didn't want to play a more wholesome and traditional version of Superman. They just never let him play that. They had to grimdark it. And that, to me, is the ultimate failure of the DC clusterfuck that is the Henry Cavill situation, is that here you have a man who ate, slept, and breathed Superman, and you never actually let him play a character resembling Superman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, I still, I mean, hell, I think it was this past week I got sucked back into watching Man from U.N.C.L.E. Again. It happened to be on Showtime, I think it was, and I fell right back into it. It's one of those movies for me that anytime it's on, I wind up logging half an hour or more of the movie just because it's such an amazing film. I love the style of it. I love the pacing of it. Henry Cavill is awesome.
And again, it's a question of, it's not a question of, is he good enough? Because it seems like he is good enough. It's always, are you actually going to let him do what he knows he should do, or are you going to try and shortchange him, kind of thing? On that same sort of Henry Cavill's geek credentials subject, I did hear recently that Amazon is going ahead with their Warhammer 40K project starring Henry Cavill. As a 40K fan, can I just throw my suggestion into the ring? Have Henry play Horus Lupercal and do an adaptation of the Horus Heresy, please, for the love of all the things.
You're gonna get female Space Marines, and you're gonna like it.
Never. I'm just gonna go over there and chill with the Harlequin Eldar. It's either that or Tzeentch. Those are my only two options in the 40K universe: is hang with the Harlequin Eldar or sign up with Tzeentch, which I might conceivably do, except for the stupid obsession with change thing that he has. I don't like change very much.
Well, so I mean, the fact that Cavill is a 40K fan, I've got fingers crossed that it'll actually be good. But with going back, I mean, to Argyle. So I mean, the things I like about it. First of all, you know, some people have thought the trailer is too stupid. I really got a kick out of the trailer. I get some Bullet Train vibes out of it. I get some Romancing the Stone vibes out of it. A little bit of, if you remember the Tom Cruise, Cameron Diaz film Night and Day, I get some vibes from that, which is just you know, that's a kind of a guilty pleasure. I know it's kind of dumb, but it's just a fun movie, and I like fun movies. Plus, it's Matthew Vaughn directing, and so far Matthew.
Okay,
Vaughn,
that I didn't know. That sells it for me because I really love the Kingsman movies.
Yeah, it's Matthew Vaughn. The production company is the Mara Films. It's the Matthew Vaughn production company. So I am looking forward to this film, especially if it also has. It looks too like it also has that kind of Kingsman
vibe,
look and feel to it. And
I was planning on eventually seeing it for Henry's sake, because after the way that Warner Brothers did him dirty, I will always and forever support Henry Cavill for as long as he maintains his geek credentials. But now that I know that Matthew Vaughn is involved, that spy movies for me are a kind of take it or leave it thing. I love the original James Bond movies, and I like the John Wick movies and stuff. But as a general rule, I don't like shoot 'em up actioners very much. So something has to be rather special for me to look forward to a spy movie or a traditional shoot 'em up type movie.
Yeah.
But
well,
Matthew Vaughn plus Henry Cavill might be the magic sauce that is needed to get me into a spy thriller again.
Yeah, somebody might have to correct me in the chat, but because I don't think Henry Cavill's British.
He is.
If he is, okay, then
yes,
he should be up to play Bond, but it might actually be too late at this point. I don't know.
Honestly, at this point, I know they're never going to, because they're, the Doctor Who franchise has seen many, many, many days better than where it currently is sitting. But I could see him play a slightly more suave version of the Doctor. Of course, he probably would have to lose a ton of weight, because in no universe should the Doctor be muscular, but oh well.
Well, that I'll say that's never happening under the current regime.
No, it wouldn't. But again, if we lived in a sane timeline instead of the multiverse's most absurd of all timelines, it would be honestly, and a similar thing could be said for the concept of a female Doctor. I don't mind the concept of a female Doctor, because I'm fine with the idea that Time Lords can change their physical body whichever way you want to slice it. What I mind is that Jodie Whittaker never actually never had the eccentricity that I expect from the Doctor. If you had someone like Tilda Swinton or someone like Haley Atwell playing the first female incarnation of the Doctor, I would have been there in 5 minutes. Or better yet, if you had just had Michelle Gomez, who gave us one of the best incarnations of the Master in Missy, swap and start playing the Doctor, that also could have worked, because I think she has the kind of eccentricity that the Doctor needs. But the problem with the concept of a female Doctor wasn't the concept of a female Doctor. It's that no one thought, how do we do a female version of the Doctor? It was literally just put a female in there and the chips will fall where they may, which is the wrong way around.
Yeah. Well, since you brought up Doctor Who, and I'll just say we've come up to February 14th, and I mean, what a murderer's row of movies coming out for Valentine's Day. You've got the Bob Marley documentary or docudrama, I guess, coming out. A sequel that I did not know was coming out. Winnie Pooh, Blood and Honey 2.
Apparently the first one did so well that they wanted to make a sequel, which I don't fault them for. I really like really campy, really pulpy sort of, the kind of stuff that used to be produced by Full Moon Features and so on. So I'm all for that.
Well, and then the movie that every YouTuber is waiting for, Madam Web, drops on February 14th.
Okay, here's my problem with Madam Web. One, for some reason, Sony is stuck in a time warp where they think it's still 2003 because all of their superhero movies, without someone more creative holding their hand, like a Sam Raimi, a Kevin Feige, or a Phil Lord and Chris Miller, seem like time capsules from the worst possible, the lowest common denominator of comic book movies from 2003. That's one factor where I'm like, why are you releasing a movie in 2024 that looks like it should have come out maybe in 2004 and it would still be dated even then? But two, I'm just gonna say it, my entire generation is only familiar with Madam Web in terms of the Spider-Man animated series. And that version of Madam Web was not a street level superhero. She was a cosmic entity who was an understudy to the Beyonder and basically was kind of the sci-fi equivalent of a fairy godmother to Peter during the Spider-Man animated series. If I were, both from a fandom perspective, because I really love that interpretation of Madam Web, but also from a executive standpoint, given that there's an entire generation who only knows the name Madam Web from that incarnation, and the fact that a cosmic entity like that is far more interesting than a street level hero, why is this not an adaptation of that Madam Web? Why is it this random street level hero that, like, the pool of people who know who Madam Web is small enough as it is. But I can guarantee you that more than half of that pool of people who knows who Madam Web is, and likes the version from the Spider-Man animated series where she's a cosmic entity.
Yeah, I was trying to look up kind of like the current history, because I know, based on reading that god-awful Spider-Woman book, that Julia Carpenter now has inherited or become the Madam Web persona. Let's see. Did that happen all? Okay, I guess that happened all during that ceremony back in when I was reading Spider-Man. So there was a kind of a gathering of 5 type storyline. This is how Maddie Franklin, aka J. Jonah Jameson's niece, gained spider powers. There was this gathering and 5 people got chosen. 1 person got instant death. 1 person got the gift of like the spider god or whatever. 1 person, I think, became the new Madam Web.
Okay, and that's the other thing. Since they keep trying to give Spider-Man's powers a mythological or mystical origin, which obviously I am in favor of because I am the magic and cosmic guy, if they're trying to make Spider-Man's powers be tied into wider mythology, that would be a perfect place to introduce the cosmic version of Madam Web to the comics and have her be the embodiment of Arachne or Clotho or the Weaver or like some mythological entity who had like weaving in her mythos, and she could call herself Madam Web, and that would be a good way to get the people who, like me and my entire generation, are mostly familiar with Madam Web in the form of a fairy godmother-esque cosmic entity to the Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. That doesn't really help. Let me see. Madam Web. So that's seeing Madam Web, but like when I read the latest Spider-Woman, Jessica referred to her as Julia, and so we got the impression that Julia is the new Madam Web, but it doesn't even say that here. But it has so I was right. So there was this arcane ritual gathering of the 5, and you got one of 5 things: either knowledge, all the knowledge in the world, power, immortality, insanity, or death. And supposedly Madam Web got the immortality that restored her youth. It cured her, so now she was young again. But I don't know at the point in time where. But anyways, I mean, to go with the movie, when you look at the movie, the big problems is Dakota Johnson?
Anya Taylor-Joy, I think.
Well, well, cute actress. Well, the one that's supposed to be Madam Web in the league.
Oh, that I think is Dakota Johnson.
Cute to look at. She's cute to look at, but she is a complete charisma void.
Well, and there again, you have the problem of, judging by the trailer and all the like behind the scenes production stuff that I've heard, it very much is a time capsule of the like late 90s, early 2000s era of superhero movies where they were trying their damnedest to remove all the comic booky elements of every superhero property.
Well, yeah, and that's the other piece too, is that when you watch the trailer, and I will be shocked if we get more than 2 scenes of the characters in costume. Again,
it looks like a Final Destination ripoff that someone put a superhero skin on.
Well, there's that too, but again, it's that whole thing of, again, oh, we want to do a superhero movie, but we're kind of embarrassed to actually have them in the spandex, thing, because we're too good for this.
Well, that's been Sony and Fox's problem basically since the late 90s and early 2000s, is their approach to making a superhero adaptation was remove as much superhero from it as possible and turn it into a generic sci-fi action movie. Which I understand on some kind of paper. I understand that back then. I understand that mindset back then when no one had ever done a sincere or very few people had ever done a sincere superhero movie that worked. But in the post, MCU, post DCEU, post Deadpool, landscape where the 2 biggest shows on streaming are The Boys and Invincible, there's absolutely no excuse for you to not see the value of the superhero genre on its own terms. And that is the trouble with Sony. Whenever they don't have a stronger creative like Sam Raimi, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, or even Kevin Feige holding their hand and teaching them how to do comic book stuff correctly, they default back to that same mindset of take all the comic booky stuff out and turn it into a generic sci-fi action film from the early 2000s. It's frustrating. It's frustrating that they're still doing it, especially after Morbius bombed. Like, you would think after some time, let's look at the numbers on paper for a second. No Way Home, extremely comic booky, made almost $2 billion during a pandemic, mind you. The Spider-Verse movies made like 7 or 8 times their budget each, and were extremely comic booky, and are considered the best superhero movies of this last year, no less. Meanwhile, you have Morbius. Well, that bombed horribly. The Mark Webb, Andrew Garfield version, that took most of the comic booky stuff out, and those movies didn't ever do particularly well. Like, when are they going to learn that when comic book fans go to see a comic book movie, they actually kind of, want the comic booky shit in it, please? Or at the very least, could you act as though it's not still 1991?
Well, again, that was one of the really pleasant things about the One Piece live action movie or series. They kept all the manga elements in it. As I said, they steered into the skid. It was bright colors. It was fantastical. It was, everybody looked the way they were supposed to, and people responded to that. And it's amazing that, in 2024, that you still have studios, because again, these are executives, these are people that run in elite circles and are still embarrassed in certain, that superheroes have to make money. But I will see. But I don't have much hope for it. And again,
and while we're here, we might as well kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Kraven is the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah. Oh, Kraven's honestly even worse, because it's not Kraven, it's his son, basically.
That's what everyone says. You honestly could have just made a Russell Crowe movie with Russell Crowe as Kraven, played Kraven as Kraven is supposed to be, and everyone would have been okay with it. It probably still wouldn't have done well, because they probably still would have, let's make it a time capsule to the early 2000s again thing with it.
Well,
But
let's make it an environmental allegory and all this other nonsense.
Also, the random thing where Kraven has lion powers now. Like, this is a cliche that is as old as that era in the 90s and early 2000s. Stop giving random powers to people who don't have them, or undoing the powers that characters are supposed to have. Like, as Matanui referenced earlier, yeah, I'm sure at some point they probably would have thought to make Doctor Strange a, like, Chris Angel alike or something. And the world would not have survived that, because I would have exploded with nuclear rage if they did that. But they probably would have if Marvel hadn't come along and showed everyone, okay, this is at least vaguely how you're supposed to do this.
Now, so this is amazing. I was looking through this list and sorted it down to just nationwide releases. And so I'm looking at what Disney right now has scheduled coming out in 2024. And for purposes of this, we'll combine both Disney and 20th Century Fox, because Disney.
Yeah, because they're the same company at this point.
So right now, here's the only Disney movie coming out in January, this coming month. They're re-releasing Soul. And that's re-releasing on January 12th. That'll probably be in the theater for a week, maybe two.
Soul as in the Pixar movie with the reincarnation motif.
It's a re-release. February, they're re-releasing Turning Red on February 9th. That is their only movie coming out that's released nationwide in theaters in the month of February.
I'm sorry, Turning Red was awful.
Yeah.
Soul was really good, actually. It's one of my favorite Pixar movies, but Turning Red was awful. If you're gonna release a movie that got borked by COVID, re-release Onward, because like Onward was released literally, I think, the week before everything went down with COVID. So if you're willing to re-release a movie that like got borked by COVID, please by all means make it Onward.
Yeah. So and then in March, they're re-releasing Luca. So the first quarter of 2024, Disney has no new movies coming out. It's 3 re-releases of Pixar films.
Well, did you see the interview where one of the executives literally said, "Yeah, we have no idea how to please our audience anymore. We just make movies that we want to make."
Yeah. Oh yeah. So here we are in April. 20th Century Fox has The First Omen. So a thriller movie that probably should have had a budget, hopefully, of less than $50 million, but knowing what Disney has done lately, that is the only Disney/Fox movie in April, is The First Omen. That's the beginning of April. Then in May, okay, we have 2 films. You've got Deadpool 3 that's scheduled for May 3rd, which actually, interesting enough, is listed as a 20th Century Fox movie. And then Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes at the end of May.
Okay, both of those are probably going to do well. I put more emphasis on the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because the Planet of the Apes prequels movies have been really, really good ever since the first one. Also, like, I'm excited for Deadpool 3 just like everyone else, but from what I hear, which is they're going to try to turn Deadpool 3 into a No Way Home style cameo fest movie. While I don't think it'll bomb by any means, because everybody loves Deadpool, and for as long as Ryan Reynolds is playing Deadpool, like, he will have an audience, because that is the perfect actor in the perfect role. And I can't believe it took as long as it did for people to put him in that role. And he basically put himself in it, because Fox originally didn't even want to release the screen test for the original Deadpool. But like, for as long as Ryan Reynolds is playing Deadpool, there will always be an audience for Deadpool. I will say, and I will bet at least some of my reputation on this. I don't expect it to be the most successful of the Deadpool movies. In fact, if I had to put money on it, I would say that while Deadpool 3 is going to do well, I expect it to be the lowest grossing of the Deadpool movies. Because if they try to take it and turn it into, let's throw the entire X-Men in this Deadpool movie to make a cameo fest like No Way Home, especially with the current crop of Marvel writers, that's not going to go well. or not as well as they think it should. I don't think. Now, I might be wrong. I might be wrong. It might have a No Way Home style box office, but I really think that the let's change up this movie so that it has an excuse for 1,000 cameos is going to get really old really quick, especially because of how much people actually soured on the Fox X-Men movies when they eventually did, die the slow and painful death of Dark Phoenix. Yeah, the only reason Fox even still owns the X-Men technically, or would still own them technically, is because of the success of Deadpool. And that one is noticeable or notable for being the one Fox X-Men movie where they didn't pull the let's remove all the comic booky shit and make it as grounded as possible derp.
Yeah, well, that's because Ryan Reynolds.
He told on Fox. He told on them basically, and was like, "I really want to play an honest to goodness Deadpool, but they won't let me."
Yeah. So when we get to June, we finally get our first official Disney release, and that is Inside Out 2. And then there's something from 20th Century called The Bike Riders that comes out the week after. But 6 months into the year, we get our first Disney movie, and it's Inside Out 2.
I'm at least cautiously optimistic for Inside Out 2 because I really did like the first one. And from what I can tell from the trailers and things, this one is going to focus on like puberty happening, but on the obviously inside of the kid's mind. And that sounds like an interesting idea for a premise. So, like, I think Inside Out 2 could work, and it does have more justification for there being a sequel than other Pixar sequels have. So, I'm at least cautiously going to not pass premature judgment on that one, because it looks like it might work. Now, it might also be terrible, because a lot of Pixar sequels, like, those are your only two options with Pixar sequels. Either they are great or they are absolutely terrible.
You've got a first-time director on that, and we've seen what the culture now is at Pixar/Disney animation. So I would say definitely take it with a grain of salt in terms of if this thing's actually going to be good.
That's why I'm being cautiously optimistic, because that's the first one we've gotten to where I haven't spotted immediately like 5 different possible reasons to be skeptical and or negative about the thing.
So then in July you have one Disney feature coming out, Mufasa the Lion King. And the thing is, that's coming out right now 2 days after Despicable Me 4.
Is that a sequel to the live action one, or is that one of the Lion King sequels?
I think it's
prequel, I guess.
Told in flashbacks. I thought it was animated, but I don't honestly know.
One thing I will say is I've never heard of this, and usually they start like pumping out the ads and stuff for stuff like that by now.
Yeah, I don't think they've had a trailer for it yet.
Is it even being theatrically released, or is it direct to video?
These are all nationwide theatrical releases.
Okay, that's interesting that we haven't gotten any. Like, we haven't gotten hide nor hair of any ads for that one.
No,
yet.
And I think it could get completely buried by Despicable Me, because that has a big track record. Families seem to like that movie. They know what they're going to get. Whereas with what has happened with Disney, I mean, families don't trust Disney anymore. It's obvious.
And nor should they. I mean, for the love of God, they all but made an Antifa movie with Wish, for God's sake.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed out because they've got it separate. So Marvel Studios, first Marvel Studios movie, end of July, is Captain America: Brave New World. Supposedly. I seriously doubt it's
I thought they moved that. What I had heard was that the only Marvel movie being released in 2024 was going to be Deadpool 3. I thought they moved everything else back.
I highly doubt they are going to hit that release date. Because supposedly they're basically filming a brand new movie.
Someone please in the chat correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they move everything else out of 2024 for Marvel. The only thing that I had heard was coming out in 2024 for Marvel that wasn't Deadpool 3 was Agatha Darkhold Diaries.
Yeah. So August, we get a 20th Century Fox release, Alien Romulus.
I mean, I don't really have any positive opinions toward that, but I'm not, like, the Alien franchise has been a zombie franchise for the last 2 or 3, so, like, I just don't, like, Prometheus was, like, it had interesting ideas on paper that they never really did anything with, and they still have yet to do anything with the interesting ideas raised in Prometheus, so, like, my response to Alien Romulus is just basically kind of meh.
Yeah. So then let's see. Nothing in September, nothing in October. Currently, we get to November. 20th Century has something called The Amateur, which, let's see, it's supposed to be an American espionage thriller starring Rami Malek from Mr. Robot, Lawrence Fishburne, and some other folks. Let's see who's making it. James Hawes is the director. So who knows? At least
Isn't Ghostbusters 4 coming out in 2024?
Oh yeah, Ghostbusters 4 is coming out. I forget I think that's towards the end of the year here.
Okay. I was just hoping we didn't skip over it, because I am extremely optimistic for Ghostbusters 4, because Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I will forever refer to as Ghostbusters 3, was really good, and really, it was good in the sense of it knew what the fans wanted and was willing to actually give them what the fans wanted. And from what I can tell, the trailer for Ghostbusters 4 seems to be building on that. So, also from what I hear, the rumor is, and this rumor is old, so it might not be the case anymore, but from what I hear, the rumor was, just like Ghostbusters 3 brought back Gozer, Ghostbusters 4 allegedly is going to bring back Vigo, the Carpathian. And I'm excited for that.
We'll see. Let me see here, because they've got it listed as March, but I thought that had gotten moved back. No, it's still okay. No, release date here is saying March 24th.
Yeah, my only criticism for Ghostbusters 4 at this point is I really wish they had done more to tie in the animated series, because that was the only like missed opportunity in Ghostbusters 3. Was I wish they had done more to tie in the animated series, because Ghostbusters the real Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters the animated series, starring Rolando Music as VENKMAN and so on, that was really good TV, and I think they would be stupid not to tie in not to tie in the real Ghostbusters series, because a lot of the world building work for the Ghostbusters franchise was done in the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed that cartoon a lot, but right now, and again, of course, things are subject to change. Things can move in and out, but right now, that's it. That is it for Disney and 20th Century Fox for 2024. In terms of theatrical movie releases. When I think about, supposedly there's some untitled Disney animation listed for the slot in the end of November, but I doubt that's actually going to fill anything.
Can I once again do the executive's jobs for them and suggest a good idea for Disney? Disney, get Michael Dougherty on the phone, the guy that brought us Godzilla Kingdom of Monsters, Trick or Treat, and Krampus, and ask him to make a live-action version of Nightmare Before Christmas, because he is the one human being on this planet that I would trust to do that. And hell, have him co-write it with Eli Roth, because his Thanksgiving movie this year wasn't all that bad either, and it would be an interesting tag team to have them work together. Like, there's a freebie for you. If you're obsessed with remakes and live-action versions of stuff, the guy who is the most likely to ever do a live-action Nightmare Before Christmas is Michael Dougherty, because he already did Trick or Treat and he already did Krampus. So just give him the keys to the kingdom and tell him to make a live-action Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah. So
You would, as long as you let him do his thing, that would make all the money, and I would gladly go see it. So there's a freebie for you.
I mean, therein lies the point. But looking at the Disney release schedule now, if people understand what kind of Disney's balance sheet is, the movies actually are a small fraction of the overall profit and revenue of the Disney Corporation. However, what has happened over the last several years, though, is that they have become, because of their incompetence and the way that they have driven families away with their culture war woke nonsense, it has affected everything else in the Disney portfolio. It started with the parks, and now you're starting to see it kind of with everything else. And so it's interesting. I mean, and it shows just kind of the fall here of Disney.
Well, I mean, let's look also at this year's. Let's look at this year's. Let's look at this year's box office for a second. The fact that Wonka is basically acting like a family audience magnet and basically filling the void of a Disney movie shows just how little faith anyone has in the Disney Disney IPs anymore. Because in a sane world where Disney was still working, on all cylinders, Wish would still be being successful, even though it came out for Thanksgiving and we're well into January now. In a sane world where they had actually made a decent movie, it would still be making money. But because there really is nothing else to fill the family and the family and kids void, people are going to see Wonka, as they should, for Wonka is an amazing movie. But it must be said that prior to Disney shitting their own bed, Paddington 1 and Paddington 2, despite being probably the greatest kids movies in the last decade, did not make hardly any money domestically. And yet Wonka, who is made by the same production team as Paddington 1 and Paddington 2, is doing well. Partially, yes, probably because of the IP, but also because of the fact that the audience that would normally be going to see a Disney movie or an Illumination movie are instead going to see that because they know they're getting the kind of wholesomeness and childhood whimsy that normally you would expect from Disney. But now Paul King is basically providing it all single-handedly, and good for him.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. It's that families no longer trust automatic. Oh, it's a Disney movie. Let's go. Well, now it's become, well, let me check this out to see if this is actually appropriate for my kids or not. That never used to happen with Disney, and Disney is now getting hit on all sides. The movie side, you're seeing like DreamWorks and Illumination start to take chunks out of that, and then of course now Universal on the park side. Oh my God! I mean, they're about to. Well, they have been actually doing better than Disney.
Well, I mean, to be fair, part of that I think is because Disney hasn't actually updated their parks on a large scale for decades, whereas Universal has all of the cool, edgy teenage IPs.
And what Disney has done, their big update is to destroy the attraction that everybody liked in their parks. Big Thunder, God, now I'm blanking. I say Splash Mountain, but
yes,
yeah,
you're correct. Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain is the one that they're reboot, or they were going to reboot because problematic.
Well, no, they are rebooting it. I mean, they're in the process. They're almost done. At least I think in either Disneyland or Disney World. But yeah,
from what I had heard, they stepped back from it because of the backlash.
Yeah, Tiana's cannery nonsense. And it doesn't look good. It looks cheap.
From what I had heard, they're just planning on refurbishing Splash Mountain because they got so much backlash for rebranding it that they decided not to. As for your comments, Montanui, thing you got to keep in mind with King of Monsters and why it is the worst Michael Dougherty movie is he didn't have creative control over the plot of Kingdom of Monsters. What he did have control over, however, was the visuals, which demonstrated to me that in addition to being very good at practical stuff, which was shown in Trick or Treat and Krampus, he's also very good at CG, because the CG for King of Monsters was freaking phenomenal. That being said, the reason I say that Michael Dougherty is the guy you should get if you want to do a live action Nightmare Before Christmas is because Trick or Treat, and to a lesser extent Krampus, are holiday classics for their respective holidays now. And also, not only that, but Michael Dougherty, not only is he good at making movies, but he can transfer mediums really well, because he's done comics based on Trick or Treat and Krampus, and they are also very good. So yeah, he's the guy you want to get if you want a live action Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah,
he's good at doing practical, he's good at doing holiday themed, and he's good at doing CG as per King of Monsters. So
yeah, so
let him do it.
See. Some of the comments here. MK random. Do you have a Buc-ee's near you? No, I do not. I'm aware of Buc-ee's. I know what they are. It's primarily a Texas thing, although we're supposed to get one or two here in Arkansas in the future, but I'm not sure where. Let's see. Yes, I do know about Beetlejuice 2. We'll see. I think the problem is Beetlejuice 2 is about 20 years too late.
Yeah, I'm not looking for. I personally am not looking forward to Beetlejuice 2. I am, however, looking forward to Joker 2 massively.
Yeah. I'm assuming that Jenna Ortega is going to play Winona Ryder's daughter or something like that.
Yeah, she's gonna play Lydia's daughter or something. Which perfect freaking casting. Someone please, for the love of God, cast her as Raven, please. In the new DC reboot, please cast her as Raven. I want that.
Well, she might be aging out of that. What did you think of the Beetlejuice cartoon?
I enjoyed the Beetlejuice cartoon. Small thing about the Beetlejuice movie, the latter 2/3 of it are really good, but the first third, in which we're mostly following the couple, I usually end up having to skip over that part because the couple are not engaging or likable characters at all in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are a couple that, I mean, actually, had some difficulties, and actually part of the story in that afterlife is they learn to live and
yeah, and that's good and all, but people forget that the first act or so of Beetlejuice is really, really boring. The latter two, as soon as Beetlejuice himself is introduced, that's a whole nother story. But everything leading up to the reveal of Beetlejuice, the character, is dull as sin.
Yeah, but I enjoyed the Beetlejuice cartoon back in the day. I remember it being part of that ABC Saturday morning.
Yeah, it's very fun, and I enjoy the goth vibes. And if they can incorporate kind of the vibe of the cartoon Beetlejuice, then by all means. I don't see it. The thing with Beetlejuice 2 is I don't even see where the sequel is supposed to come in at, because unless you have an entirely different, honestly, you'd be better off doing a sequel to Beetlejuice with an entirely different setup than Beetlejuice 1. But I have a terrible feeling that they're going to do what they did with Mary Poppins Returns and bring back the original family, which, again, in case my opinions of Beetlejuice 1 haven't clued anyone in, I don't really like the human characters or even the dead couple.
My understanding is the only returning players are Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, Winona Ryder is supposed to come back, and maybe Catherine O'Hara. As far as I know, Gina Davis isn't coming back. Alec Baldwin's not coming back. Certainly, Jeremy Jones isn't, or Jeffrey Jones is not coming back. So, we'll see. I think, I'm not sure how much of a relationship between the original family there is, unless Jenna Ortega is playing the daughter of Lydia, but, we'll see. MK is asking regarding Ghostbusters. There was the tie-in video game 2, which took place after Ghostbusters 2, or in between 1 and 2. Yeah, there was a pretty good video game. I forget what the full title was. I played it a little bit. I know you can still get it on Steam. Let's see, Ahsoka. Hey, Ahsoka, welcome. Happy New Year. Yeah, there's a Beetlejuice 2 and a Joker 2. Yeah. I honestly still need to sit down and watch Joker. I've not done it. I'm not quite sure why.
Shame, sir. That was the best movie that year.
It's one of those movies I just got to be in the right mood for, and I just haven't found that spot.
Dude, you're missing out. That was 2019's best movie.
Yeah, well, going back to King of the Monsters. So it's funny. I liked the recent Godzilla, U.S. Godzilla movies, but watching Godzilla -1, I was so impressed how they did the human side of the story that I was sitting there going, this is how they should have done the human side of the story in Godzilla.
Yeah, I'm not. I also really enjoyed the U.S. movies in spite of rather than because of the human characters. I have yet to watch Godzilla -1 because they haven't released a dub version yet. And yes, you get your pitchforks and torches ready. I can't do subtitles because I have optic nerve damage that makes it difficult for me to process visual information.
Okay,
and I can't simultaneously watch a movie and also deal with the subtitles.
All right, I'll let that slide because you've got a legitimate medical excuse. It was fantastic. I was so happy. I made a point of getting to the theater.
I'm glad that it was successful, and I have heard good things about it. I'm waiting for a dub because I can't deal with subtitles and also watch the movie. So
yeah, no, fair enough. But I mean, it's the one thing with the two Godzilla movies, both Godzilla King of the Monsters and then Godzilla versus Kong, that anytime Billy Bobby Brown or whatever the hell her name is came on screen, it just almost derailed the movie for me.
Well, I think their first mistake was the tone of the first one. The Godzilla, was it 2009? Was it that old? The really boring one?
Or you're not talking about the Matthew Broderick one. You're talking about
no. That's
so
like
you're talking about the one that
now.
starts out with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, that one. The one where they didn't show Godzilla until like the last 5 freaking minutes of the movie because they wanted to be artsy derp. Like, yeah, that I think was their first mistake.
Since I've seen that one, I'm not even sure necessarily how the whole plot goes. Except, let's see. Well, okay, that's right. Well, I do remember. It was so something happens. Bryan Cranston gets killed off early, and then it's his son.
Yeah.
Later in the movie.
I barely remember that movie, apart from the fact that it enraged me because they were deliberately denying the audience their Godzilla because they wanted to be artsy fartsy and so very subversive. And I freaking hate when instead of artsy movies taking cues from blockbusters, they try to force blockbusters into the artsy fartsy mode.
Yep, it's officially midnight here in the Central Time Zone. Happy New Year to anybody. I know Venkman's in the Central Time Zone. Eric, they're still up. Happy New Year, everybody.
I don't think we'll be up long enough to wish Ash a Happy New Year.
Yeah, probably not.
I think mostly because someone just tried to call me, so I'm going to do my due diligence for the stream, but eventually I want to hopefully get back in touch with him before he goes to bed. Because
we can wrap it up here.
We don't need to wrap it up. I was just saying I hope we're not still going at 3 a.m. because if we are, then I'm sure my friend will have gone to bed by now.
Yeah. Well, it's midnight. I'm old. I'm starting to run out of steam here. So, and I'm not sure how many people we still have listening to us. So I think
Maranui is still here. MK, I believe, is still here.
Yeah.
Ahsoka, I believe, is still here.
Yeah. So MK saying, do you guys think Godzilla 98 deserves the hate? Honestly, it's hard for me to say. I've not seen that movie in a decade plus, probably. I do remember seeing the theater, and I remember just kind of being underwhelmed by it. Again, it was one where, one thing was it was done in that era of the style of disaster movies that were big.
It's done like it's not it's not enraging, but by no stretch of the imagination is it good either. Like
Yeah.
I think Cloverfield was much more successful at being a modern day Godzilla movie than was Godzilla 98.
Yeah.
And I really wish that the makers of the, you know, Monarchverse had the foresight to take, you know, copy off of Cloverfield's notes a little bit more, at least for that first one. And then, like, the second and third in the Monarchverse are not bad. Like, I really enjoy Kingdom of Monsters because Michael Dougherty, I guess, is just one of my favorite directors of all time. I will basically see anything he's involved with. And I did also really enjoy Kong Skull Island and Godzilla vs. Kong. I still wish that they had let Michael Dougherty stay in charge, because honestly, Michael Dougherty is a good enough director that he should have had his big break like 5 times over by now. I've already explained how much I simp for Krampus and for Trick or Treat, but yeah, the dude needs to have his big break all freaking ready. And honestly, they need to kick Michael Waldron out of the Doctor Strange writers' room and put Michael Dougherty in his place, because I think Michael Dougherty and Sam Raimi could really take Doctor Strange places, especially if they throw in Michael. I just got done talking about him. The guy that did Follow the House of Usher. Mike Flanagan. Yeah. Replace the Doctor Strange writers' room for Doctor Strange 3 with Michael Dougherty, Mike Flanagan, and the Duffer Brothers, the guys behind Stranger Things, and keep Sam Raimi in charge, and that will be a good Doctor Strange movie. And bring Giacchino back, but don't have him replace Danny Elfman. Have them work together on the music, and hell, have Michael Giacchino be a co-producer, because he did really well with The Mystical Side of Marvel with Werewolf by Night. So if you want a recipe for a great Doctor Strange 3, that is your recipe. Keep Sam Raimi in charge, but get Mike Flanagan, Michael Dougherty, and the Duffer Brothers to write, and get Michael Giacchino to co-compose and co-produce with Danny Elfman. And that will be a great Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see. Michael Waldron supposedly is now in charge of writing the next Avengers movie, or plotting that. And so somebody that I do respect, that I listened to online, a guy named Script Doctor, has said that Michael Waldron, when he's allowed to do his own stuff, is good. The problem that he has had is that when he is controlled by somebody else, or specifically like this, basically writing for Kevin Feige, that's where the problem happens. So
yeah, I'm familiar with Script Doctor. I've actually, I think, streamed with him a couple of times, because we both used to be on Comics Division's channel every great now and again. But I will add that irrespective of how much control Mike Waldron does or does not have, it was insane to try and expect him to be able to go from writing one solid good episode of Rick and Morty to writing an entire series with Loki to writing a massive blockbuster with Doctor Strange 2. So while I will forever blame Mike Waldron for the problems with Doctor Strange 2, because most of the problems with Doctor Strange 2 were writing problems, I don't actually blame Michael Waldron for it, because you go from writing one really good episode of a, you know, low budget Adult Swim sci-fi show to writing an entire like prestige TV show with Loki, to then being put in the sidecar with Sam Raimi writing Doctor Strange 2. That was never. That's a Herculean task for any new writer or inexperienced writer to deal with, to move.
That's where I will cut him a little
quickly.
Slack, because we know now that, especially Phase 3, Phase 4, and whatever the hell's going on now, is that Marvel no longer has scripts. Their ideas, but nothing is locked down when they start filming. It's literally writing on the fly, and you can't produce a good movie that way. I'm sorry.
They also have made the mistake of putting people who are good at writing parodies of stuff in charge of the actual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, all of the Phase 4 and Phase 5 writers have been alumnuses for Rick and Morty. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Rick and Morty, and I didn't even mind the recent changeover of voice actors from Justin Roiland, even though he was acquitted, so I don't think he should have lost his freaking job because, innocent to proven guilty and shite. But like, while I like and appreciate Rick and Morty, you can't. Or I guess I shouldn't say you can't. You very rarely can ever get away with putting people who parody things in charge of the serious version of those things. With somebody like with somebody like Mel Brooks, you probably could have gotten away with that. If you asked him to write, for example, a Star Wars movie, he probably could have separated his, inner Spaceballs from writing a Star Wars movie. But the problem is, most of the modern day versions of parody usually end up being in the form of, let me tell you why this entire concept is stupid. And you can't hand the reins of people who think the concept itself is stupid to writing the actual thing itself. It was the same problem that I felt like the Dungeons and Dragons movie had this year. They gave the IP of Dungeons and Dragons to someone who really wanted to write a parody of Dungeons and Dragons but had no respect for Dungeons and Dragons as an IP. So is it any wonder that most of Phase 4 and Phase 5 have been shit when you consider that people who make a living making snarky comments about how stupid IPs are now the ones in charge of the IPs? It's absolutely absurd.
Well, I mean, you had Jessica Gao doing She-Hulk, and it fell into that same trap. And honestly, Rick and Morty, I watched the first episode of this new season, and it was like, it's okay, but it hasn't driven me. I've got the rest of the season basically sitting on my DVR right now. Whereas it used to be appointment television for me to watch either right then that Sunday, or I would watch it.
I think that by the time of about episode 4, you'll be changing your tune, my friend.
Really?
I'm not going to spoil because it would be a shitty thing for me to do to spoil, but there is at least one episode this season that is definitely must-watch viewing. And that's all I'm going to say about that because I don't want to spoil it for you.
Sorry, I need to go check on something here, so I'm going to check out. I will talk to you guys later. Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah. And I guess in absence of it, sorry, I've been saying the word absinthe a lot lately. In absence of LK, I suppose I will also say my goodbyes. Please do subscribe to all of England's channels, here and Old Man Comics, and all of his other channels as well, because he does actually have a lot of specialized channels. If you're a Disney fan or a movie fan or anything of that nature, please do subscribe to all of England's channels. And also, since I'm here and I was left in charge, because some people were irresponsible enough to give me control over this thing. If you feel like it and you want more of my content, I do 2 podcasts usually every week. The Wednesday show sometimes gets moved back and forth because me and my co-host can't always get together. But I do 2 podcasts every week. One of which is the Podcast of the Storm, which I do every Sunday, starting at 8, and we usually run for quite a few hours over there. And that's a geek news and politics roundup show. So if you're into this sort of sphere of geek news, find your way over to Podcast of the Storm. Its icon is actually a version of the Batman Who Laughs. If anyone is looking for the channel icon or something to distinguish it, that should help you find your way over there. I also do a men's rights and men's issues podcast with Mr. E2099 called The Duality of Man, as close to every Wednesday as we can manage at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I also do a show here with Maranya and Ethereal Dragon and Clint and several other usual suspects, which is the Marvel RPG every Tuesday at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. So please do find your way over to that content. And like I was saying earlier, I do have my own channel. It's called The Authenticator. I don't post as often there because I'm usually busy co-hosting and or guest appearing everywhere else. But if you want more of my content specifically, please also find your way over there. But on that note, Happy New Year, everyone, and cheers, guys.